Middlekauff! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Haberman and Middlekauff live draft show here on YouTube, or maybe after the fact on the podcast feed. However you're listening, great to have you. I'm Guy Haberman. With me is John Middlekauff. This is Haberman and Middlekauff, and this is Draft Night.
Hello, friends.
Hello,
Let's
friends.
go, baby! You see this scene? The NFL, I mean, we've seen some clips on TV, but the NFL Network Twitter account just tweeted out. I mean, there have to be, right now, just watching the NFL Network setup and Roger, I don't know, 150,000 people sitting there, right? Standing.
Yep. 83 degrees right now is it's 5:04 p.m. Pacific time.
That's pretty warm when the sun's beating on you.
Yeah, it's toasty. It's toasty, and you're wearing your black Darren Waller jersey. You know,
I see a lot of other teams. This is it's a universal city, guy. Everyone's allowed to see a lot of Jets. I saw some Chiefs fans.
I'd say it's working so far. You know, we're coming up on this, just the NFL in Vegas. We're coming up on the 7-year anniversary. I think it's June 6th, I saw today, of Tony Romo's canceled fantasy football event in Las Vegas. And the whole league, 7 years later, is in Vegas for the draft.
Think how stupid that is. Not that long ago, he wasn't like, he was having a party that was gonna have drugs and hooker. No, it was a fantasy football event for like charity.
It wasn't even like gambling. It was fantasy football.
Now they were probably paying him, $1 million to show up or something, which was a no-brainer. But that's the league simply just. They didn't want him in Vegas. And now there's not only a team there, they're hosting the draft there, and they clearly like being in Vegas, like the league, right? Having a stronghold and a foothold. And clearly, I guess I got to give hockey credit. They started the trend. But the other two teams or the other two sports that are not involved in Vegas are clearly headed there. The Oakland A's are going to be the Las Vegas A's, maybe change the name. And there's going to be an NBA team there very, very soon, as they should be. I mean, the A's should I would run there. And the NBA, I mean, Kings Arena is awesome. And listen, I like...
You trying to move the Kings?
No, but I mean, it could be just...
the Kings' problem isn't that no one shows up, it's that they suck.
It's not necessarily their market. It would, I think, just re-energize the franchise.
I don't know. I mean, I think
you got to get a new owner.
Operate a little better.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you're listening to the podcast feed, what you're hearing is us live on Thursday night. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube, where we will be live again on Friday. And, updating John, updating stuff, obviously, throughout the draft. So a lot of content ahead. And we're excited about that. So we'll go tonight. We'll see. I mean, right now, a lot of people on the edge of their seat about Deebo Samuel. So part of this, if you're listening to it, in some ways, what happened, but there's going to be some timestamps throughout the show if you're if you're watching the show or listening to the show after the fact, so where things happen. But last year there was the Trey Lance wait. We both at the last moment picked Trey Lance the moment before the draft. The evidence is there, John. You can go back and listen to last year's draft show. We said Trey Lance would be the pick before they made it, and so we have to, we'll be predicting picks and trades and non-trades. But at this moment, does it feel like Deebo Samuel's getting traded?
No, it does not. But there are still, is that Derek Carr and Waller?
And Marcus Allen.
Yeah, I would say he doesn't get traded, but I don't feel great about it. I think the offers are going to keep coming. But last year was a special draft. This year just simply is not, because the star power isn't there. I mean, Deebo is the biggest story. If he's traded tonight on the clock, pick 10, I'd argue that'd be one of the biggest moments in draft history.
Well, I saw somebody who have been the players drafted
of that level. It's not like the NBA, is it? I don't remember.
You mean like when Vlade Divac got traded on draft night?
Yeah, it feels like it's happened
Kobe
much more in the
Bryant.
NBA. It doesn't happen that much in the NFL. Not with players of that ilk, right? They're usually traded before or after, not on draft night.
Right.
What is going on with Derek's hair?
A little faux hawk. I bet his kid has it. Would be my guess. I don't even think that's a faux hawk. That's just I don't know what you call that.
That's just a mohawk guy. I mean, it's what Dave's got going.
You guys should do a little Giants talk. Might open up a new market for you, said this individual. Well, I mean, Daniel Jones did not get his option picked up today, John. And it was suggested by Florio that the Giants leaked the news today. Are they trying to get other teams to think they're looking at a QB? If they actually were, they wouldn't have leaked the Daniel Jones news today.
Is it really breaking news? They're not picking up Daniel Jones' 5th-year option?
No. I think the question is, what are they? Why are they doing it today? Right? Is there no reason that just happened to come? Somebody happened to ask Gettleman's replacement.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's due to get picked up next week. I really don't think it's that weird. I think it's next Monday. I mean, the timing, you're right, a couple days early, but Ice Cube, this is kind of popping right now.
Well, it's a very Raiders draft.
This is kind of working. Honestly, this is kind of happening right now. Raj, he's kind of feeling himself. He's got Waller up there, who Nagler said was going to get traded, and the Raiders immediately came out and said he's not going to get traded.
Derek Carr said, over my dead body, basically.
He said that too?
I mean, not over my dead body, but not if I have anything to do with it or something like that was his line. Yeah.
He tweet that out. You're one of the rare guys that can see his tweets.
Yeah. Yes, actually. Oh, we should tell people. Oh, hi, Aiden Hutchinson. We should tell people we're watching the NFL Network coverage. So if you're watching along with us, obviously the YouTube will be, I don't know what it ends up, 15 or 13 seconds behind. So you can always pause it or you can just enjoy with us. But the NFL Network is what we're going to be reacting to.
Derek's doing a Raider chant.
You turn up the volume? Go ahead and turn up the volume.
Yeah, I just want to hear what they're saying. I mean, we're going to start the clock here. This is taking a while to get going here.
Let's see here. DEEBO'S here to stay. It's 10 minutes after 5. Middlekauff is impatient.
Well, I just want the clock because again, then we got 10 more minutes. We got a long road here.
I know. Pace yourself. We've got. Let's talk about a few things. I got my draft board here, John. My big board, my draft board, and I think there are things to hit with every team as we go through. But one thing as a reminder to just what the night is like. I pulled this up.
We're started.
All right, we're underway. Dun, 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 dun. I pulled this up, John, just for reference as we get the night started here. The history of Jacksonville Jaguars first-round picks. They made 2 picks in 2020, C.J. Henderson, and I can never say the first name, Kalavin Chasen.
It's a hell of a question. I don't know.
Laviska went in the 2nd round. Josh Allen, the pass rusher in 19. Taven Bryan, the defensive tackle, who's made not a major impact for them, was the 18 first-rounder. Leonard Fournette in 17. Jalen Ramsey, Miles Jack, Yannick Ngakoue. They nailed the draft in 2016. It's a hell of a draft. 2016, great draft by the Jags. Now we're back to Jags business. Dante Fowler, TJ Eldon, Blake Bortles, Marquise Lee, Allen Robinson. Okay. Jonathan Cyprien, Luke Jokel, Justin Blackman.
Do you know last year in the offseason, I was working out and this guy had Eagle shorts on. I can tell, I'm a former scout. I was eyeballing him. I'm like, I don't think this guy is just a fan. I mean, this guy looks the part, kind of. I go introduce myself. I say, hey, man, I like the shorts. I didn't.
You got a vibe.
You never want to be like, you play for the Eagles, but it was kind of clear he probably did.
Yeah.
And then we start bullshitting. It was Jonathan Cyprien. He was here rehabbing. And remember, the Niners, I think, either worked him out or maybe signed for a brief moment. Really cool, nice guy.
But it's awesome. So he was just hanging out, like staying at the hotel, you think, or something like
that? His rehab, I think he had some surgery done. He had just played for the Eagles, I think, in the 2020 season, had a season-ending injury. Maybe a knee specialist was around here who did some work on him. So he was here working out. I think trying to, hey, Kyle, John, I think they had told him, I don't know. Couldn't quite get to the bottom of it, but I remember watching him in college. Pretty good player.
I heard a good John Lynch story. He was on the hit that like button. He was on the Thomas Dimitroff podcast, and they were talking about, agreement between GM and coach. And he was talking about how one day he was a free agent and he was in San Diego back home, and he ran into Dean Spanos at a charity event. And Dean's like, hey, man, how come we're not signing you? And John's like, I haven't heard from you guys. And Dean's like, oh, all right, let's set something up. So he gets Marty Schottenheimer, and is it AJ Smith? Was that the GM? Smith?
Yeah.
I think his name.
Yeah. Guy who drafted Ryan Matthews.
Those two guys hated each other, apparently. Marty and AJ did not work well together.
Yeah.
So he gets them on the phone. Did you hear this story? Have you heard this story?
No.
So they get on the phone, and Dean is like, John, thanks for joining us. Marty, the floor is yours. Marty talks for 15 minutes about why John Lynch would be a fit for the San Diego Chargers. He's like, AJ, you can go ahead and take over from here. And AJ Smith goes, faster and younger. And it was just quiet. That's all he said. And Dean was like, anything else you want to add, AJ? He's like, we said we were going to do this offseason is get faster and younger. And John Lynch is not faster or younger. And John just like, it's kind of awkward. And John's like, you know what, guys? Look, I did this as a courtesy to Dean. I appreciate your time. I've got plenty of other people that want to talk to me. So, good luck to you fellas. And that was the end of the call.
Was this when he ended up signing with Denver? Was this
Must have ended up signing with Denver, yeah.
Royal asshole.
What a mess.
AJ was, I think, a notorious football NFL dick. And obviously Marty was hard-headed, old school. But AJ won the battle. Marty got fired, right?
Right.
I mean, I think AJ's kid is like executive somewhere. He was with the football team, Commandos for a minute, but I don't know where he's at now.
Let's see. DEEBO'S signing autographs in Vegas tomorrow, says Chris. Is that true?
I could see that. I could see Vegas. I would imagine the draft is a mini Super Bowl for especially the retired guys, right? You go there, bunch of fans, set up booths, make some cash. It's kind of like the, the circus version of what the Super Bowl, I guess, is viewed a little higher class. But I could see the draft being like the second rotate. If you could make $100,000 at the Super Bowl, maybe you could make $50,000 at the draft, right?
In some ways, there's more fans there, right? There's more. It's like NFL Super Bowl would be more Radio Row, kind of doing that kind of thing. But then some autograph signings would be the ticket in Vegas because it's a ton of fans. Somebody on the stream said they're expecting over 400,000 people on Friday.
I saw 900 potentially total.
Wow, for just the 3 days.
For the 3 days. Now, I would say this. It's pretty clear the guys with jerseys were there for the draft, but a lot of people just naturally go to Vegas. How are you totally counting? Like, I'm here for the draft, or I'm here to gamble. I'm here. Yeah, I'll participate.
Yeah.
Who do you think they took?
I think they're taking the pass rusher from Georgia.
You see Baalke and Doug Peterson? Do you see that little visual? They're kind of vibing in there. What are their buddies?
I thought they were at what I love this word. I thought they were at loggerheads about who to pick.
What's loggerheads mean?
I don't know what it means. It just means like disagreement.
It's like a gaslighting type onboarding. It's just a term people are using.
I think it's an older term, not a younger term.
Gotcha.
Who do you think they take?
Yeah, I mean, I think Baalke's just going to swing for the fences and take the pass rusher from. Because what's the point unless you're just bored and you want to fuck with people? If you end up taking the guy from Michigan, that if you take Trayvon Walker, you also get credit when you do something like that. I'm not saying that's why you do it, but if you go, this guy's not. I don't think Aiden Hutchinson is the Bosa brother or Myles Garrett. And I think this guy has a much higher ceiling. So let's take this guy. But also, deep down, I know if I hit on this, I kind of become way more legendary. It's like, remember that time Baalke took the dude with 9 career sacks that everyone thought he was crazy and then became a Pro Bowler?
Right. If he does that after doing Aldon Smith, because right now people feel like Baalke just fell into this job and doesn't deserve it.
Well,
right?
I mean, you could argue he did. Right?
Well, no, he definitely fell into the job, but I think he's viewed as, a placeholder until the Jags figure it out, which could be never. But he can actually get more power in the Jags organization, right?
Yeah, like let's say he nails this, and then Doug and Trevor start getting on the same page. He starts scoring points, and then in a couple years they win 9 games. All of a sudden, remember when Trent Baalke helped resurrect the Jags? And then he gets a contract extension.
It's a legend. You become, yes, he could change his whole career, John, if he nails this pick right here.
Would you bet on him getting an extension or fired in the next 3 years?
Fired.
See,
but not if he nails this pick.
I might go extension just because what if the quarterback's sweet?
It's true.
He did it.
That's ballsy, man. Trayvon Walker is the pick.
Don't you think the move, though, in a bad draft?
Love a guy at home with his parents, by the way. That's a good sign.
Yeah, family guy, good energy. Not that many people. He's mom and dad, no girlfriend. He'll get one of those quick. Mom's really happy. Looks like maybe sister, grandparents, agent's kid in the back. Here's the other thing. How could they do? You mean take a 2-year starter from the best defense we've ever seen? We're not. It's like, how about this guy that had these crazy measurements from Weber State? No, this guy's from the University of Georgia, where he's a multi-year starter. And
he's 6'5", 270 pounds.
Yeah, he's pretty sweet. All right, he's pretty physically gifted. Now, like, to me, Alden at the time was like, Missouri taking him over, like J.J. Watt, who was Wisconsin, was a power, much better at the time than I think they kind of slipped into a little bit after. They're kind of back now, but I don't think it's as crazy as now. It's happened a lot in basketball, right? Like taking Marvin Williams from North Carolina. But they took a guy, that was 6'8" from North Carolina. It's not ultimately that nuts, is it? I guess
no. That one too was a projection.
He didn't start.
That was a projection too, right? That was a major projection. He was not a starter in North Carolina, right?
Look at this guy move around. I mean, what if Kirby Smart's telling you, like, listen, we had him do something specifically. He could do a bunch of other things. And then he starts going, we love the kid. His work ethic's fantastic. He'll do whatever you ask him to do. You put him in different schemes, he'll be able to do it. Football smart. Known him since he was in high school. He's a stud. Love his family. When you start hearing these things, you're like, well, shit. And he's more physically gifted than short-armed Aiden Hutchinson. Well, again, Aiden Hutchinson has really short arms.
Don't you think? I heard. What's your experience with this? Do you think most teams, the default for most teams, I heard your, we were talking about Daniel Jeremiah's podcast the other day, and he said this, that he thinks, the default, especially this year, is just to try and hit a double with this draft in the top 10, which is ideally you get an all pro, right? Which is not a double. So I do understand the logic of, if everyone else is going to try and hit doubles, especially if you're a guy in Baalke's position, let me try and hit a home run. That's what makes it a little easier, I think, to take a risk if you think your alternatives are doubles, not home run. You're not picking between 3 home runs. Now, who knows? I mean, here we are talking about it tonight. In 5 years, Aiden Hutchinson or whoever, maybe Derek Stingley should have been the first pick for all we know. Time will tell. But does that make sense? Like, do you think most teams try to hit doubles in the top 10 or most teams swing for the fences?
I think depends on the year and given the crop. I would argue if it just feels like there are a bunch of doubles. Well, as we know, there's about like what would the baseball, like it, Billy and those guys' mindset of like strike out or hit a home run, go big.
Yeah.
Like you're better off taking a huge swing than trying to hit a double because you're not guaranteed to hit a double. That'd be my thing.
Right.
There's no guaranteed double.
High floor.
No, there's no such thing. I also think one thing the Jags have had a pretty good. This is going a little quicker than I thought. Jeffrey Lurie is a huge proponent of till the last second to let the Eagles logo be on there for the full 10 minutes.
That's Aiden Hutchinson. Do we know who's is everybody family in that Aiden Hutchinson reaction shot? Or
I'm going to be very careful because it's hard. You don't know the ages. Sometimes the glamour. You could
I'm just asking.
Something.
Is everybody family? Was that his mom?
15,
might have been his mom,
sister, mom. Good looking family. He's a good looking dude. He's kind of got what would you say? He feels a little more Watt than a Bosa. I've heard him talk a couple times. Like I don't think the Bosas are huge talkers. Like they're not going to be like doing podcast circuits. Watts are a little more likely to like.
Yeah, they got commercials with each other. Yeah.
Yeah. This guy feels more in the Watt clan than the Bosa's like, just leave us alone. Just let us fucking lift and eat and fuck and just leave us alone. The Watts
and do squats.
Yeah, the Watts.
This is a good comment from DC Films. Aiden Hutchinson's arms are so short he couldn't even hug everyone. It's a lot of people. Red flag. All right, so we got 2 pass rushers off the board. Houston Texans are on the clock now, by the way. third defensive player ever to finish runner-up for the Heisman Trophy.
Do you think this is pretty telling why the guys make the most money? Like, if there's no quarterbacks, every other position's in the draft, right? You can get guards, centers, tackles, wide receivers, yet pass rushers. Like, there's a reason those guys make a ton. You could argue, like, why are wide receivers making more than some of the pass rushers, right? Because Garrett Wilson, I would say Garrett Wilson is a better player in a vacuum than Aiden Hutchinson.
You're saying the fact that these guys get drafted before receivers get drafted proves why they get paid so much.
Well, like Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, just in a vacuum, are equally to me as good as Aiden Hutchinson. They're all awesome players, but no one would take Garrett Wilson over Aiden Hutchinson. Like, if you gave all 32 teams just the number one pick and you gave them three choices, Olave, I'm just choosing Olave too. Garrett Wilson and Aiden Hutchinson. Don't you think Aiden Hutchinson gets picked every time?
Yes, and I think this confirms it, right? And the history of the way guys get drafted, the best pass rusher gets drafted before the best receiver typically. And
that's happened when the league was like run heavy, right? It's just like you just take the D lineman over the wide receiver. Now, some of it's supply demand, but all DJ's been talking about for like 2 months is the draft might suck, but there are pass rushers everywhere.
Yeah. They might be guys that should get drafted. Like, as an example, I think we talked about this the other day. Kayvon Thibodeau in last year's draft. Now, maybe, Daniel Jeremiah projected him to go 9 or 10. We'll see. But Kayvon Thibodeau in most drafts is still a top 12 pick just based on the position that he plays, right?
Underrated theme to his draft place, like wherever. I don't think it's inconceivable he goes 3. I would doubt it. But like, if he makes it past both New York teams, it is pretty nuts that all these other pass rushers, Trayvon Walker went above. Like, that's just going to be a theme of his career. What if he does live up to, like, you got to steal Kayvon Thibodeau at pick 9, or, the guy who Seattle gets him at 9 or something.
Yeah. The guy who people thought coming into the year was going to be the number 1 pick, right?
Honestly, wasn't he kind of talked about a potential top 5 pick when he was like a true freshman?
And I think a potential number 1 overall pick when he was a true freshman.
Because I felt like he kind of looked physically like he does now back then, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. No, he made an impact right away.
So you could argue, when you think Belichick guys, to me, Kayvon, whether the comments are fair or not to judge harshly, he doesn't feel like their type guy. So I would be, these guys are not milking the clock. If I'm Roger, I put out a call like, you guys got to slow down. We got a 3.5 hour television special.
What are they up to? What are they doing this for?
They
got commercials to play.
I think that's his mom.
That's what somebody was sitting on his lap. Could have been mom.
Do you think would it be a red flag or would it be a positive? It's like, yeah, I'm dating a 47-year-old.
I think the league would view that as a red flag.
What if you're just like, look at her, we're just hitting it off. I'm not marrying her, but we are seriously dating and it's fun. And
I think it would be a story. The league would not. The league wouldn't know what to do with that.
I think a lot of people there'd be an unknown. It'd be hard to have like a strong take, right?
If it was like Ashton Kutcher was in the draft, like he's great with her kids, responsible.
Well, like let's say his mom, which I think that is, like she's pretty good looking. Let's just say that was his girlfriend. And you'd be like, what, in the draft meeting, they'd be like, what's this? He's dating a 47-year-old? You'd be like, yeah, coach, it is a little weird. It's the first I've ever seen in my 15 years doing this, but she's stunning. And everyone in the program's like, she's actually really cool. She
has her own money.
Takes him out to dinner sometimes. The O-linemen love her. She's like the coaches hit with the head coach. I mean, she just kind of vibes.
Yeah, this is straight out of Moneyball.
But these are the conversations you have.
Well, that's why I always love Bob McGinn, people always hated some of the stuff he talked about, because bad character doesn't mean has a police record, right?
No, yeah.
Texans, are they going icky?
Oh yeah, isn't that your worst?
No,
nightmare?
They went cornerback.
So 2 of the first 3 picks they swung for the fences, right?
Yep.
Is it? If I got Andrew Friedman, Billy Bean, and Farhan in here and gave them the scenario that you had, this is a top 20 of doubles. There are a couple guys involved in that group that it could be Angel Hernandez, you're headed to the bench, or you hit a Giancarlo Stanton moonshot. What would they choose?
Giancarlo Stanton moonshot.
So I actually think that's the way to do it. You get in there and you take a cut. Because what's Aiden Hutchinson? I've heard best case, and listen, this guy was a really solid player. I've heard him say maybe he, part of it was injuries, underachieved a little bit. Maybe he just achieved. Chris Long, who was the number 2 pick once upon a time, and who had, again, a good career, but I don't think anyone views Chris Long like some all-time Pro Bowl level sweet player. So if you get, that's like Agent Hutchinson's, I've seen people write that's his ceiling. So you going that, or you going Trayvon Walker? Like, what's his ceiling? Alden Smith?
Right.
What's Derek Stingley's upside? Jalen Ramsey? You want to take someone's told me they're like Sauce Gardner. They're like, solid player, was really good against Tulsa's and the Houstons. Not the quickest twitch guy, tall, just good kid. But he's really more of like the 13th pick in a draft than a 3rd overall pick. One thing you say about Stingley is like the practice film, him, Jamar Chase, 2019, like he was shutting him down. Long time ago. Lots changed.
Yeah. Well, a lot of guys regressed on defense was kind of the discussion about LSU, right? The feeling that things just kind of fell apart.
And the other thing, I think he had a major foot injury. Liz Frank got smoked. I don't remember this, but it makes sense because I remember watching the game, but I was having a few pops. Was the UCLA game? I guess Stingley was bad, and then he just kind of season ended after that. He got surgery.
Yeah, I mean they were all bad in that game, right? That was a stunning game, but as it turned out, they weren't very good.
Sissy blue shirts.
The sissy blue shirt game, yeah. Liz Frank is. You never want to meet Liz Frank. I know that.
Especially when your game's predicated on speed, making plays.
So does this create now another corner? Does Sauce Gardner have to get picked here now by the Jets?
What if you just look up and 49ers are on the clock?
So the Jets have 10. They just have 4.
Looked up and I said 49ers are now on the clock, and you didn't know anything else. Would you assume that's all they got was pick 4?
No, because in order to do that deal, you would have to really be in love with somebody. And I'd be surprised if they were in love with somebody who wasn't.
It's not like Kyle Pitts or Jamar Chase in this draft.
Right. So it's like, what am I doing it for? Like, if they got 4, I would think they trade back.
Well, let's say if Kyle Pitts or Jamar Chase was in this draft, would they already be off the board? Wouldn't the Texans probably have just taken one of them?
Yeah. Yes.
Would the Lions have taken one of them?
Might have.
Remember Kyle Pitts last year? Everyone's like, this guy's going right to the Hall of Fame. It's like, Jesus, is he?
Like Detroit also has 32. Maybe they justify we can get a receiver at 32 and take the pass rusher at 2. We could not get another pass rusher at 32.
This is the Jets or the Giants right here. This is the Jets.
This is the Jets, yeah.
The Giants are next.
Yeah, it's Jets, Giants, Carolina, Giants.
And then a couple more picks later, it's the Jets.
Yes. Here, I'll
if you are going to suck as bad as those two teams suck, at least they got 4 picks in the top 10.
I mean, Gettleman, in the end, left them an opportunity. So here's what we've got coming up here. All right. Jets, Giants, Carolina, which to me, the second they don't take a quarterback, we can start talking about Garoppolo.
Isn't it pretty crazy that 7 and 10 got you the 8th pick in a draft? 7 and 10 feels more like 12 or 13. Does that when you say 7 and 10 out loud, does that feel like you're going to be picking 8th? That's pretty lucky.
Yeah.
It's like not the worst season ever, 7 and 10, and you get the 8th pick.
I mean, there were 2 3-win teams, 2 3-4-win teams. Usually it feels like there's more 5 teams with 5. 5 seems like only 1 5-win team this year, Carolina.
How's this possible?
So then Atlanta at 8, Seahawks at 9, Jets again at 10, football team at 11. Can't wait for Minnesota to draft for need at 12.
Well, see, there's a good example. 8 and 9. That's just probably a fumble or interception away from being 9 and 8. It's not 8 and 9 is not that bad of a season, right? When I say 8 and 9, I'd be like, hey, you're probably drafting 17th. They're drafting 12th.
Well, the Niners had 12 2 years ago, right? And they were 6 and 10.
And it was a long year. Doesn't 6 and 10 feel a lot worse than 8 and 9?
Yeah. I know. Extra games. I know.
I get the extra game, but still. A lot of hugs in the Jets. Joe Douglas feels like a big hugger.
Do you think he's a Sauce Gardner guy? Or do you think there's some big swing that he likes? I mean, they could go tackle.
Well,
maybe they get icky.
I would say bad sign if you're rooting for a major haul and a Deebo trade would be if they take a receiver here, right?
God, that feels high.
I know, but if they did, Deebo's, that's probably in that.
Yes, I think 100%, unless you're taking him for the Niners. But I think there's a lot of Micah. What's up, man? Thank you. I think there's a lot of
Micah Parsons, Micah Roswell,
Micah Roswell. I think there are a lot of reasons for the Jets not to do the deal. Like, is Deebo going to be in his prime when your quarterback is now? If you think Zach Wilson is ready to be really good this year, okay. But if it's going to take, remember, it wasn't until year 3 that Josh Allen became a 60+% passer. Is Deebo 2 years from now worth giving up all this right now if you're still 2 years away from Zach Wilson being really good?
I mean, if Deebo's not good in 2 years, anyone who has Deebo on their team has a problem, right? Because he's going to be making a lot.
You're saying maybe his prime just lasts 4 more years?
Yeah, I think that's if the Niners, to me, if you think Deebo doesn't have 2 years left, the Niners should trade him for 10 and pick 38 right now.
Yeah, I agree. But it's a risk. I think they go. A lot of people think they're going corner here. I'm going to go tackle.
Sauce is a pretty sweet name.
Could be. No, they went Sauce Gardner, who people kind of thought they were going to take anyway at 4.
I wonder if they would have taken Stingley.
Good question. I mean, they'd been mocked. Sauce been mocked to them for a while. Whatever
rangy, Seattle corner makes sense.
Yep. For Robert. And you know who else would like him is the Eagles would like him, right? Don't you think Howie would like him where Joe Douglas comes from? You were there.
Who?
Sauce, like tall, rangy corner.
Yeah. Seattle would take him at 9.
Seattle, like where Robert Saleh likes him, and where he came from, and where Joe Douglas came from, would like him. Is the point I'm making.
Sauce doesn't know where he's going here. He's lost.
He's holding on to his chain. He's running and holding on to his chain.
I think he hung a right when he should have hung a left, and now he's missing. Remember when Dion used to greet the guys and give them like a big kiss?
Oh yeah, man. All right, so we've gone defensive end, cornerback so far in this draft.
Which I would say is a little shocking that both the corners are off the board at 4.
His chain says Sauce.
This is an enormous walk these guys have to make from where they're sitting with mom and dad to where the dude hands him the hat. Little tight.
Why is he wearing it like that? That's how we all wore hats in 8th grade.
You know, Sauce is closer to 8th grade than you probably realize.
It made me think. I clicked on a Royals highlight the other day, and Bobby Witt Jr., Bobby Witt Jr. is like major cool prospect, cool guy. And it was like a chopper to short, and Witt comes in and bare hand throws the guy at first, and the guy calling the game called him Junior. He's like, Junior's got it, throw to first. And I was like, oh, you just getting Junior just like that? I guess it's been a long time though, right? Since Ken Griffey.
Well, was it the hometown announcers?
Yeah, hometown announcer.
Yeah, that makes. Why do you care? If you're that guy.
I just Bobby Witt Jr.
Long season.
Bobby Witt Sr.'s been out of the league for a while. Like Ken Griffey came in, Senior was still in the league.
It's a bold move, but baseball needs it. Did you see my rant that I posted about Dog and Steve Phillips?
I didn't. I saw it, but I didn't hear it. No.
Yeah, he went apeshit, apoplectic over Kershaw and just the mindset of baseball, yanking about the fans sitting out there in Minnesota in the 28 degrees, and Phillips is like, well, you got to ease him in, and then he starts screaming about the ratings, how no one will watch, and how it's pissing him off. Like, you can tell he's really angry about the mindset of doing this, how it's impacting people that don't watch it.
The mindset of doing what? I don't follow.
Just he thought it was gutless, pulling him out of the game, and because Kershaw wanted to come out of the game, and then he starts talking how Michael Jordan played the Celtics with a broken foot and scored 63 and refused to not play. And then Phillips says he sucked at baseball, and then they start screaming back. And Phillips wasn't yelling; it was just Doggy screaming at him. All
right, the Giants are on the clock. I mean, they're They got to go tackle here, right? Just try to maintain, make sure they're one of the most boring teams in the league this year.
Well, it's a pretty easy move for them. They go tackle and then take a wide receiver at 9, which I would imagine they do. Or you just go
7.
Or you go 2 defenses.
They have 7.
You go tackle, then you go 7. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because they're going to take a tackle. Carolina's going to the Giants could still get the best receiver, their number 1 receiver, because Carolina probably takes an offensive lineman too.
Carolina's definitely not taking a wide receiver. So you actually feel pretty good.
You take the best tackle, and you get the best tackle, you think, and then you get the best receiver.
Or you could take just a sweet defensive lineman, take a receiver
take a pass rusher.
People like that Florida State guy. What about Kayvon?
Could take Kayvon.
Could you take Kayvon right here?
Yeah, but as long as you're not taking an offensive lineman at 7.
Yeah, you're right. So why wouldn't you just take your top offensive lineman here? Panthers aren't going to take Kayvon. They'll take a lineman. Then you just take Kayvon at 7. If you want Kayvon, you can just get him at 7, right?
Yes. Which feels at this point like...
Does he feel like a New York Giant? That'd be like kind of a culture shock to him.
Feels like a Seahawk to me, honestly. I feel like he'd be good with Pete.
I heard DJ or someone say that maybe it was someone in the know that was like, they think that the Seahawks are as low as Thibodeau can fall.
That he wouldn't go past him. Oh, well, DJ has put him in. Yeah, DJ has said that spot a few times. Jermaine Johnson's the Florida State guy. Gardner, thank you, sir. Love the show and pod. Let's go Giants.
Minshew?
I would take Kayvon. I think Kayvon, I'll tell you this about Kayvon, having watched his whole career, as did you. I think the things that Oregon would say off the record are probably different than the things that people say on the record. But I also think he's going to be a pretty solid player. Like, I think Kayvon Thibodeau is getting his 5th-year option picked up. That's what I would say about Kayvon. Does that mean he's a Pro Bowler or an All-Pro? Not necessarily. I think Kayvon's getting his 5th year. That's how I would what I would say about Kayvon. I think the concerns about him are legit, but I think he's a guy that's getting this. He's on your team for 5 years. What's so funny?
The Giants draft room, you were talking, but is so stiff. Everyone is just so tight in there. I mean, what a miserable place to be. Now I get it, they've sucked, but it just felt like, God, it felt like the Patriots. But at least with the Patriots, some of those everyone has rings. I mean, the Giants. I'm with you. I would be stunned if he doesn't get it, because the one thing for him, if you want to be a billionaire, you got to get that second contract. So he's gonna have a lot. And
right.
One of the best things for him that he has going for him, immediate chip on his shoulder. Several guys especially if he goes 9, somewhere between like 9 to 12. Think how many guys are getting drafted over him. Like, Kayvon, you thought you were the number 1 overall pick, then you end up going 11th. Like, isn't that the best thing that's like kind of like an NBA type thing?
I think Seattle's a better market for him than New York too, but he could end up with a New York team.
One problem for him with the Giants is, Dayball is going to be Belichickian. Wasn't Mario kind of like that, though?
Yeah, I think it's probably a little harder in college, though, right? You don't want... Because I think one thing that happens in college... I'll finish this thought in a second after the pick.
Who is this?
Make-A-Wish. Whoa!
See?
They took Kayvon. The Giants take Kayvon. To finish that thought, I think in college, you have to be really cognizant of how you treat your biggest recruits publicly. You have to send the message to the next crop of 5 stars that, like, this is a place where they can come be themselves. And I think you got to be very careful about that. And I think coaches are very careful about that. Especially with a guy like Kayvon, who was one of Oregon's best players, right?
Well, I mean, he was turning down Oklahoma, Alabama, Georgia, right? I mean, it was biggest recruit Oregon's ever had.
I think he might have been, actually, like by 24/7 by rankings. Yeah.
Well, I mean, isn't it hard to get higher than the number 1 overall recruit in the class?
Yeah, they have like points, so it'll be like you're 0.987. So that's I think how they do that. But
well, you know how we thought
and then Joe Burrow, same sunglasses.
Are we sure that they don't just go Kayvon and a wide receiver then instead of an offensive lineman? Or maybe they don't think the difference in the offensive line is that big, right?
I mean, if you're going to take an O-lineman one pick later and you knew Carolina wasn't going to take Kayvon,
how do you know that, though?
Well, you don't know. You don't know. You're right. But my point being, like, now I think New York is not taking an offense. I think they're doing what you're talking about. Taking a receiver, trade Kadarius Toney to the CFL or something. How quickly they hate that guy. Pretty amazing. They
didn't draft him.
No, not these people, but this team. Didn't you tell me like a week after he got there that they hated him there? Or your thing was they love Elijah Moore in New York, right? The Jets.
I think it's more they love Elijah Moore. Make-A-Wish guy and Kayvon just went nuts.
Imagine being Make-A-Wish guy. You get to this. It's one thing to make a wish. They give you Make-A-Wish and your team is picking 26. You're picking 5th, like when everybody's locked in.
I'm not trying to get in hot water. The Make-A-Wish Foundation, incredible. That's if you had the wish to do the NFL draft and you get to call a top 5 pick in Vegas, that's a pretty sweet wish.
Yeah, why would that's not negative. That's all positive. That's a good thing to say.
I know. I just I luckily caught myself when I just looked up, wasn't quite sure what was going on.
Yeah, I took the ear. I had seen a story online the other day. I was like, maybe this is that, but
that would have been my wish when I was younger.
Absolutely. I think Kayvon also benefited. We'll see. I think what happens at 7 with the Giants will kind of tell us. Like if they take an offensive lineman at 7, then I think we could say that Kayvon really benefited from an offensive lineman not going higher. If they don't take an offensive lineman, then it didn't really.
I also think that you could just go, what if the Panthers just try to be dominant on defense?
Yeah, or what if what if Seattle just went from 9 to 6 to get him? Like Seattle tends to hate like mostly everybody in the draft. They like him. They jump up to Carolina's spot. Carolina's trying to move back anyway. Maybe they thought that was going to happen.
I bet Seattle takes the Florida State kid. I mean, it feels like they're going to take a pass rusher.
Jermaine Johnson. Seattle could really do anything. Although there's not. Could they take Kyle Hamilton? No, you don't think he fits the profile?
No, Pete's in charge.
The physical profile?
They took Earl Thomas once upon a time at 10 or 12, and it worked out okay.
Thibodeau to the Giants. Anyone think that's a surprise? Yeah, I'm a little surprised by that, but
we can no longer say that he fell in the draft. Like you go 5 overall, like that's right.
I mean, what you just said makes a lot of sense, but he was viewed as like the number 1 pass rusher, and he ended up being the 3rd pass rusher.
Yeah, I would say to a guy that had a better season in Hutchinson and who's a dominant player at Michigan, and then just a guy from the University of Georgia, and then 2 corners. So
maybe he fell based on the season, not necessarily post-season draft stuff.
Yeah, maybe if he hadn't gotten hurt and had a 15-sack season, does he go 1 overall?
Yeah, I think I guess what after
to me it's hard.
What I would say, he didn't fall based on interviews. He didn't fall based on interviews. He fell, quote unquote, fell based on we thought maybe he was the best player, and teams don't think he's the best.
I guess my overall point in the history of drafts, if you go 5 overall, like that's a pretty big deal, right? Like that's a high pick in an NFL draft. 7th rounds.
You're saying you're not allowed to be chip on the shoulder guy if you got drafted 5th?
Well, he is allowed to, saying he's better than those 2 guys.
Honestly, I would get that Make-A-Wish kid in the locker room for a pregame hype speech. I just saw the replay of it. Sorry.
I agree, especially if to me, I wonder his Make-A-Wish, like, is he probably a big Giants fan?
He's a Giants fan.
Yeah, so I would bring him to a practice or something. That's pretty cool. If I'm Kayvon, I'd probably do something with that guy charity-wise. Like, it's a pretty easy one for him, too. I guess I just don't think, like, I don't know. I don't view him as falling. I would have viewed him as falling at 11 or 12. Like that's pretty cool. 5's pretty high still.
What? I agree with your basic sentiment. I agree with that. I do think his stock. I think he got passed over the course of the season though by 2 guys who we did not think were going to get drafted ahead of him when the season started.
I agree there.
But the conversation about falling, to your point, has been about his personality, red flags, off the field, that kind of stuff.
Which clearly, if you go 5, you're still so good that stuff either doesn't matter or that was false, right?
Yeah.
And especially to the team that drafted him, which is, can be a little stiff, even though it's weird. Like they're stiff internally, yet their greatest player ever was a crackhead. I mean, they had another star player blow his hand off. I mean, they remember their kicker beat his wife, and then the owner's like, he makes some field goals. We're not going to cut him yet. Like, Mara, again, stiff guy, team-wise, little liberal that way. The other thing I was thinking is that I'm with you when the season started, but then Hutchinson he was in the mix for the Heisman, like had one of the best seasons of the year on a team that resurrected a power. He was dominant. The Walker, I honestly had never really heard of him till the draft season.
Yeah. Okay. So Panthers are on the clock. Panthers pick is in as we're watching this. And, you got to keep the dream alive, John, that they don't draft a quarterback here. I saw Daniel Jeremiah's prediction was that the first quarterback is at 20 to the Steelers. So it would be good news for the Giants not to take a quarterback here.
What if no quarterbacks go?
Do you think that's a possibility?
I think it's a possibility.
I'd be surprised.
I'd be surprised too, but you just put yourself in every internal meeting or, draft room. I think you could talk yourself like, are we sure? Like, do we want to do this? We've seen so many guys that have been overdrafted fail. At least when you draft a guy in the second or third round, the pressure is not even close to the same.
So
right?
I agree, but my question would be like, let's use Pittsburgh as an example. Are they going to be bad enough this year if they don't draft a quarterback that they'll be in the top, 7 next year?
No.
Who's their quarterback?
Trubisky.
Atlanta, we just talked about it, had a not horrendous year and picking 8. But my point ultimately, yeah, you're right. That would be my answer too, is that how is Pittsburgh going to get their next guy?
The movement every year. Matt Ryan's become available. You just never know. Things change.
You get Jimmy, actually. Hell.
Yeah, things happen.
Yeah.
I think we've just seen my mindset. If I didn't feel great, would just be like, guys, things happen. Like we have some evidence the last couple of years of just things happen.
Most front offices don't like to take the let's just sit back and let the next quarterback find us. The universe. Let the universe deliver our quarterback.
Ballard did it.
Well, after he did it the other way, though.
I was watching McAfee had on Matt Ryan, and he was like, it's all cool now, Matt, but there was like a 3-week period where people were freaking the hell out around here. Jimmy Garoppolo.
Ike Ekwonu, offensive tackle, NC State. That is the Panthers pick. See, I think there are some picks, and I would say this, I don't know if people in the chat or people listening or if you agree with this, but having looked at several mock drafts over the last few weeks, there's a few picks that have felt to me like it's stuff that people just general consensus. Now, maybe people are just looking at each other's mock drafts, whatever. But I'd say Carolina taking a tackle at 6 was one. The Jets taking Sauce Gardner was one. Atlanta taking a receiver and the Jets at 10 taking a receiver are two that are pretty consistently popping up the same.
You said
Devin
Atlanta,
Lloyd.
You said Atlanta taking a wide receiver?
Yeah, Atlanta taking a receiver and it being Drake London, maybe. Or the Jets taking Drake London. Like both those teams, a lot of that. I'm going through my draft board here. Philly taking maybe one of the corners. And Pittsburgh with the quarterback, Kenny Pickett. New England taking Devin Lloyd is one I see constantly.
One thing I do wonder is a lot of these younger general managers, a lot of them came up. They were scouts or college directors or whatever, but I do think they are more in tune with the economic element of the draft of like supply, demand, historical. Yeah. Why would you take, like, let's say you love Garrett. Let's say you're the Falcons. You're like Garrett Wilson. Well, all these sweet wide receivers that are up for contracts are taken in the second or third round, and this is a draft that's loaded in wide receivers. Our team stinks. Why wouldn't we take the sweet pass rusher from Florida State, right? Or take a position. Like one thing I'd think about Kyle, if you tell me that Deebo Samuel's traded for 10 and 38, who do they take at 10? I'd be like, I bet they go defensive lineman. And then they trade back up for a wide receiver. I'd be a little surprised if they go wide receiver right there. Because one thing I do think about Kyle is like he gets it. I've been around Howie. They really value in this. I think it's a philosophical thing started with Andy, who Howie learned is lines. Wouldn't you just pick a lineman? Like my argument with corners, and I like having a sweet corner, but I also think it's so like the one area where you can physically dominate. And you've seen the Rams do this. You've seen the Niners do this. Like ultimately, Jalen Ramsey still kind of gets smoked sometimes. And he's probably the best corner. but they win because their defensive line, and the Niners made a huge run because their defensive line. Like, shouldn't you just lean defensive line if there are sweet defense? I get it if it's like Garrett Wilson and Haberman and Middlekauff on the board. Like, if I'm the Giants, wouldn't you just take an offensive lineman right here? Take a wide receiver in the second round. You're going to get rid of your quarterback anyway.
I mean, I agree, except what happens sometimes is you love a guy, and then that guy's there, and you love him, right?
But it's like we all watch. I would agree with Garrett Wilson and Olave. I think we all agree they're really, really good players. But it's like we see every single year that, like, they're probably going to be good in the NFL. But if you can get, let's say, Evan Neal or whoever the offensive lineman that you really love, like, what if that guy's your Tristan Wirfs? Then all of a sudden you get a pass rusher and a sweet offensive lineman. Now you're cooking with gas. Now you're like, you have two building blocks for your franchise.
Well, I think we can say unequivocally that the 49ers, if we got their, like, there's 10 commandments in stone about how we build the franchise, that they have shown time and time again that line is a primary part of how they believe they build a franchise.
Like,
right?
Do you think it'd be out of the realm possibility if they got 10, they took Jordan Davis?
No, I don't. Well, think about John Lynch, who he mentioned this on the Dimitrov pod, like the teams he played on, right?
Simeon Rice, Warren Sapp.
Exactly. And I think it's a fundamental part of his belief, and him and Kyle, it's a fundamental part of what, and we watch it. We watch him do it. Like, it's what they do with their team.
He literally watched it every snap, right in front of him.
Yeah.
Those guys.
Yeah.
You know? I mean,
and it served, and the other part of it is it served them well. Now, you could also argue they've also done a really good job of that they should lean offensive line. They should lean elite offensive linemen over elite defensive linemen, because one thing the 49ers have shown is that they can develop defensive linemen. They've not shown a very good track record of developing offensive linemen.
Who's that?
The 49ers.
Not really, no.
Like, if I said you've got pick 10 and 36, one of them's going to be D-line, one of them's going to be O-line. It doesn't make sense, like, from a value standpoint, to take a guard at 10, right?
No.
But I'd also say you are more likely to get the less talented defensive lineman to perform than you are to get the less talented offensive lineman to perform, based on your recent track record.
Yes.
Now, maybe Aaron Banks was just a bad fit for them, right?
Which many people thought, a little heavy-footed in a line,
not a zone, right?
Yeah.
Here we go. Giants are picking number 7.
Rod's getting some sun.
Evan Neal, tackle.
Now, you'd have to imagine that they had Evan Neal rated above Ike Ekwonu, right? Because if they didn't, it would have made no sense.
Or if they thought they were close.
Or they thought that maybe they just want, what if they went psychologically? Like, we think Thibodeau is our favorite player in this group.
Yeah.
And we know taking him at 5, we just get him in here first. Like, you were our guy. And I do think that type of stuff might matter with a kid like that.
Oh, you mean make him, like, that's interesting.
Don't you think he would like you more? Like, if you had picks 5 and 7, like, it would impact him. The linemen won't even notice.
I did the Colorado spring football game the other day, and I was talking to the Colorado defensive coordinator, a guy named Chris Wilson. He's from Texas. And John, you worked in college and in the NFL. Coaches are just have great coaches say great things. And I was like, "You got any leaders on the D line?" The kind of questions you asked during a spring game. And he's like, "Well," he's like, "You know what I say about defensive linemen? You just put them out to pasture and you let them graze. They're not going to be bothered by much. You just let them eat their grass and." In other words, like, nah, we don't really have any rah-rah guys in our D-line room, but that's cool. Like, they're just going to take care of business. And
they have good-looking dudes on the D-line.
Colorado?
Yeah.
They actually have a couple bodies, yeah.
Kid from UC, kid from Davis High start for them in offensive lineman, the tall kid?
Who's that?
Do they have a kid from Davis High as their starting left tackle?
I don't think so.
University of Colorado, not Davis High?
I thought they had a guy that went from – who's the guy that went from Davis? I think he might be on their team, but I don't think he's starting for them.
Offensive lineman. Tackle.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I want to say
he's like 6'9".
I want to say like Lichtenstein, but it's not. That's not him.
Yeah, he would have been like second.
Oh yeah, it is Lichtenstein. That is him. He's still there. Yeah, okay.
Starter.
That I don't know. I don't think it's settled yet.
Did they play a game, or do they just like kind of practice?
They kind of did a little scrimmage.
Is anyone playing games?
Yeah, Oregon played a game. Washington State played a game.
What was USC doing?
USC played a game. Offense versus defense. Defense got a 21-0 start. Lost.
They didn't do a thing where like split up teams, just like O versus D.
Is this a real tweet? Let's look before we talk about it here. Did she say it? Or she tweet it?
She's just kind of going solo. She's a solo act on Twitter. Josina knows some people. I'll give her that.
I don't see this. I'm looking. Is there a Deebo tweet? Is there a Deebo tweet?
Well,
Not
she
about
might.
trade.
She might be on like Stadium or something. You know.
Well, but this Dan just said Josina tweet.
Oh, well, people just make shit up on chats. You just never know.
Josina said, here's a tweet from an hour ago. Leak sources to me with their opinion on how things would be handled if Deebo remained a Niner. I think it'd be fine. Kyle and John manage personalities better than most, so they'd cool that out. Deebo loves football too much to sit out. So this Dan did nail it. In the scenario below, this is Josina's next tweet. One reason for Deebo not to sit out is that if he doesn't return to report to training camp on time, he won't get a year of service for free agency. Given the change in the 2020 CBA, as a player with 3 years of service, he'd be a restricted free agent. So thank you, Dan, for that.
Good work, Dan.
Knowledge. Good looking out. This is right now, if you're Deebo and you want to get traded,
the clock's ticking.
The clock is ticking. You have to go scorched earth. I am not showing up. I'm going to sit out. I'm going to skip the year. I don't care. I'm not showing up. Like, that's what you have to try and make them believe. And given the rules, it's really hard to make somebody believe that you're willing to do that, right? Especially when you know, if you're the Niners, that in 2 months, you're going to offer them a big contract or whenever. I don't know when.
I went to the store at about 2:30 this afternoon just to get some food for the next couple of days. I realized, once here, need some food. And Peter King was on with Chris Russo. I text you this, but the details of what he said, because Dog opens up with like, Deebo Samuel, does it get traded, Peter? And Peter drops it. Well, I talked to a guy with the Niners earlier this week. Well, Peter King once upon a time sat in the Niners draft room. Hints that he knows Kyle and John pretty well, right? He knows John very well, and he convinced Kyle to let him do it. So it could be one of those two guys. And the guy specifically said, they're like, in the history of team sports, a lot of guys have asked for trades over the years, right? In our lifetimes, just forever. And he's like, they asked Peter, what percentage of those guys actually got traded? Peter's like, I don't know. And then the guy's response was like, probably about 20. So just his point was, just because you ask for a trade, that's not a new thing. The overwhelming history of this, that guy doesn't get traded. Like we forget about it because we live so much in the moment, and rightfully so, but he's not the first and he won't be the last. And he definitely won't be the last guy to not get traded on a trade request, right?
Right.
Now he's good enough. He actually was great enough last year to make it a huge story. But, wow, they did take him.
Drake London.
That's
to
pretty nuts.
To the Falcons.
I think that's insane.
It is big, man. Would you put him with Kyle Pitts? I know people that think he is like people that don't understand how good this guy's going to be. And obviously there's also other people who are like, how do we really judge the year that he had? I mean, you scouted guys.
Not fast, didn't run.
Contested catch guys are like, are you going to make those same catches when they're contested by NFL corners, right?
Well, I'll give you another Pac-12 guy who was slow and didn't run, who's had an unreal career, would be Keenan Allen. The difference, though, is Keenan thrives. He's like basically a slot receiver, right? Like Keenan does a lot of his work. He's a unique player. Like you don't think of Keenan like Wes Welker, but when you do kind of close your eyes and when you watch the Chargers, where's he doing a lot of his work? Between the numbers, work in the middle of the field. Now he can. Does Drake London feel like that to you? Like Drake London does feel like he's got to play outside, right?
Why? I mean, I think we talked about the Marcus Colston comparison a few weeks ago for him.
I'm just being. I liked him when I watched him. I've just had some people that were, I would say, down on him in the sense of it's high.
Yeah, like what's his elite trait? And you would say his most elite trait is just,
what round isn't Marcus Colston like a 7th round pick?
Oh yeah, went much later. But he turned
Keenan Allen was a 3rd round pick, but I know part of it is like
ACL. Keenan had a knee injury.
I would say this is the highest.
Cal really produced some underdrafted stars.
This is the highest
between him and Djax.
a slow guy has gone since Crabtree.
And
remember,
Crabtree was one of, and check the stats, the all-time greatest college receivers in the history of the game. He was a 2-time consensus first-team All-American.
Like he's a first ballot.
Won the Biletnikoff twice.
Wouldn't you say Crabtree's a first ballot Hall of Fame college football Hall
he won
of
the
Famer?
Biletnikoff Award twice, John. How many people have done that?
Now, here's the thing: Adams a first ballot college football Hall of Famer?
I think he should be, actually, because his numbers are very similar to Crabtree's when you look, and they didn't throw the ball much more. Here's the thing: I mean, Drake London was on a bad USC team last year, right?
Terrible,
and only played in 8 games, and led the Pac-12 in receiving by like 300 yards receiving.
How many other? I'm not trying to be down on the crop, but were there a lot of other pro receivers?
No, but Washington State just had an air raid offense there. They threw the ball around, right? I mean, UCLA threw for some yards.
Oregon couldn't throw. Arizona State couldn't really throw. Arizona's terrible.
Utah didn't really throw
till the other quarterback came in, opened it up a little. Did he? Was that kid's name?
But Cam Rising.
Yeah, I like that guy.
Yeah, I like him too, but he was like 8th in passing yards per game in the league. So wasn't really their thing. It's a fair point. Yeah. I'm just saying he was by far and away. And I think he's an A+ guy. Like, people really like him. Larry Fitzgerald comp.
One thing that makes sense, right? Arthur Smith came from Tennessee where, AJ, I would put, ultimately, if you're Arthur Smith, you would have to see some AJ Brown in this guy, right? Physically big, just can physically dominate. But again, this is where I,
Yeah, I don't know if I see AJ Brown.
Well, but I'm saying that he used a big wide receiver when he thrived as an offensive coordinator, and I bet the owners
gotcha.
We love big receivers here. I mean, we had Julio who ran a 4.41 with a broken foot. But again, AJ Brown went into the second round. Julio's was basically Kayvon Thibodeau of wide receivers. He was the number one recruit. This guy, I'm not trying to be down on Drake London. I want to like Drake London.
I understand. I don't think you're out of.
I would imagine if you just went around, do you think a lot of teams had Drake London over Garrett Wilson on their wide receiver board? Like, I watched enough of Garrett Wilson. I thought Garrett Wilson was a superstar.
I do not think I think my guess is there's probably a handful of teams that had Drake London, Atlanta being one.
Do you think the Calvin Ridley person situation spooked them a little bit? Like they were going to take a wide receiver with the elite character. I mean, Ridley kind of threw their whole thing off.
That's interesting. How do you feel about DraftKings Drake?
What?
Drake London. How do you feel about DraftKings? Mike Evans was a lot faster. I think that's probably not a comp.
Yeah. Mike Evans was twitchy.
By the way, here's a take for you. What pick is there? So right now we've got eight guys have been picked. Seattle is on this is a Russell Wilson trade pick here, number 9. Is there a pick through the rest of the draft that you would love? I'll tell you mine. The Chargers getting Jameson Williams at 17 would be mine. I think that'd be awesome.
I don't want that because then I think they'd be. I'm not rooting against Herbert. I want to see him thrive, but I can't see that team win 14 games and Brandon Staley get Coach of the Year. I have a very strong position.
Understand. Gotcha. Because you think it would work. You hate it because you think it would work.
I think it might work. No, they don't even need him. They're going to be freaking. It's going to hard to screw that thing up. But I'm with you. That'd be sweet.
Well, someone could get hurt. It's happened before for them. Keenan and Mike Williams.
Do you think another receiver? Do you think Jameson Williams would make it past Howie at 15 though?
Probably not.
Who else? I mean, if you're the Jets, do you take him at 10?
Yeah, I mean, Washington at 11, Minnesota at 12, Houston at 13.
If I was Washington, I would go. 15. I would go with one of the. Listen, I've seen the numbers. I know you did. I did. We've all seen enough of Ohio State over the last couple of years. Those two kids fucking were sweet. You could not watch Ohio State game and not one of those guys be like, is this real? How are these guys this good? And to me, that's what's crazy. I'm not anti Drake London. I like big physical wide receivers, but I couldn't have taken him over one of those other two guys. Now, I get it if you like a big body guy, Olave small, but I can't, like, does Garrett Wilson have the Justin Jefferson of this draft written all over him? Like, if you just watch Ohio State, he kicked everybody's ass.
Yeah.
'Cause he
Pro ready.
Just
Both
ready
those guys.
to dominate.
Who do you not want Seattle to take from a Niners perspective? Like, because if
I
you're
mean,
them,
anytime
don't
they at the Florida State, the pass, I mean, take an O lineman.
I think you kind of got to, right? Just think about their division. Think of all the pass. Now, Chandler Jones is out of the division, but you got Nick Bosa. You got the Niners always have a really good defensive line. The Rams clearly emphasize defensive line. Do you have to kind of take an O lineman if you're Seattle?
Seattle, not a big dress code draft room. I mean, is that the most casual draft room in the league?
Pretty casual. Like the Niners, we know will be. I mean, they're not. Who knows if they're wearing suits today?
Well, Guy, have you seen a draft room that didn't have suits on? Which I think is a little overrated, but I mean, these guys wearing vests.
Like how about the Warriors Nuggets the other night, Wednesday night? You know, Iguodala wearing a suit, but no one else. Coaches don't wear suits anymore, so Iguodala is just the only one. Chris Angel, I saw. Is Chris Angel performing Friday night
at the draft?
Pick is in. The Seahawks select Carlos Cross, offensive tackle, Mississippi State, 6'5", 305. I get it. I mean, it's not sexy when you like that's a pick you got for Russell Wilson. But I get it, man. Just given their division.
I think one thing this guy's really physically gifted, which you could argue this isn't totally fair, but the last sweet offensive lineman Mike Leach produced was kind of like
Dillard.
this, a freak athlete, and he's just not very good. So I think that scares some people with the air raid.
Yeah, but
Mike specifically, I don't know.
But I would say this guy, this is not like a Mike Leach recruit, right? How long Mike Leach has been at Mississippi State for 2 years?
He didn't recruit this guy. And this guy, who's he blocking? Like every week in tape, he's blocking LSU, Auburn, Alabama, right?
Now he's a redshirt sophomore.
He would have been there before. How many years Mike been there? 2?
2, but so did this guy. Oh, well, I guess he's a redshirt sophomore maybe because the COVID year was a free year.
So you're saying he might have actually been there 4?
No, I'm saying he might have been there 3. I'm just saying, did he play 3 years? Yeah, so 19 true freshman, barely played, only played in 3 games. So my point being, he only played for Mike Leach. Then he started 10 games as a redshirt freshman in 2020. And then he started all 12 games at left tackle in 2021. So he did not really, I mean, he kind of played. He got coached by, who was Mississippi State's coach?
Honestly, don't even remember. Do you?
Who'd they fire from Mike Leach? Who did they fire?
From Dan Mullen, the dude that went to Oregon, right? The offensive coordinator.
No, he's not. He wasn't the head coach. Kenny Dillingham is the offensive coordinator.
No. Mario's offensive coordinator.
Joe Moorhead.
Yeah. Say this about this Charles Cross. SEC, 6'4", basically 6'5", 310 pounds, 34.5-inch arms, ran a 4.9. I mean, this guy, just the body types in the SEC are just. There's 2 years of tape of him at least lined up against Will Anderson. Like you have seen reps of him versus Will Anderson.
Yeah.
Who is better. If you could combine Hutchinson and Trayvon Walker, they would not equal Will Anderson. So it's like, it's a little different than Andre Dillard. But I did hear, I just know that freaks him out. Well, we got 5 minutes left.
Yeah. I mean, this is rap sheet. All right, we just got to stare at the screen, make sure the Jets stay on the clock. But he basically said, what he just said was that trade did not materialize tonight, right? As if to say it's not happening tonight.
Do you think there's any way that the Niners can do it tomorrow for 35-38 and next year's 1 or something?
Yes.
So it wouldn't be totally
dead.
Why
would you wait? Just to, if the Jets... Because like the Jets might draft a receiver here. Now, do they draft a receiver for you? Can you?
I don't.
That's in the NFL.
No.
I mean, here's the other thing. Could they trade him later? Could New England give you 20? Could something happen with another team? Like, we're just so fixated on the Jets.
Yeah, it could. But the problem is they just have a lot to give you. I think that's why it made sense. The connection
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Get him to a different conference.
Pick is in. They taking a receiver?
I don't think you have to.
Charles Davis just said they could go O-line. Yeah.
I would just keep going O-line. Take receivers at 35 and 38. Or draft Deebo Samuel with those 2 picks.
Did they go D-line?
I think you could take the Florida State pass rusher right here. Just go big heavies.
Why not too high for Jordan Davis?
Or Jordan, Jordan Davis is going to be the steal of someone's draft. Because he's not going to go.
He's going to go where he should go, right?
Yeah.
Which is like would you like Houston at 13? Would you just take him? If he's there, he may not be there. Would Minnesota take him?
Probably not. Well, Minnesota's going to take a corner, and those corners are gone. So yeah.
Minnesota is that too rich for Trent McDuffie at 12?
No.
You're right. Feels like corner for Minnesota.
Honestly, the Jets could go McDuffie right here. I can hear Roger
corners
in the background. Oh, you're right. They took
Garrett Wilson. One. All right. So, I mean, that's a big deal. The 49ers did not just make the 10th pick in the NFL draft.
Would you say the Jets are 100% off the table, or could they go Garrett Wilson, Deebo Samuel, and Elijah Moore?
You're saying because they drafted a receiver? I would say it's unlikely, given that they drafted a receiver last year that they really like. So unless they're trading that receiver to the 49ers, which why would they do that? They already have him, and they know he's good, Elijah Moore, right? You wouldn't trade.
You got to spend money on somebody.
You're saying the Jets got to spend money on somebody?
All these guys are rookies, right? And second-year players. They're in a contract forever on cheap numbers.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to talk.
You're saying give Zach Wilson 2 established receivers, 1 is superstar receiver, and then Garrett Wilson's your number 3 guy, and you don't have to ask that much of him.
You already got a running back. You got the 187 guy that I didn't know about until this year. Cincinnati started making plays. They signed him. You're just fucking ready to roll. And now it's like, Zach Wilson, you better figure it out, buddy.
Akasha says part of what Rap Sheet said was the Niners said no to pick 10 and a late round swap. Gross. Yeah, I don't view the Jets as a team that had to do it. Like I think there's good reason not to do the trade if you're the Jets.
They were not a player away. So I would say that
their quarterback is not about. Yeah, I think he's a couple of years away.
But not in a million years would we have talked about a Deebo trade unless he had brought it up. And then the other teams that were interested, you just had to start making the pick slots. But it shouldn't have been a conversation ever. Not in a million years, if Deebo had never brought this up, would we have ever mentioned it? Now, thank God it did, because what the hell would we have talked about the last 3 weeks? But
those videos, thank you everybody for watching.
The reason we have to keep talking about it is because the only way you can trade him is for a king's ransom. Otherwise, you can't trade him. Now, is he going to go like? I guess he still has tomorrow to go scorched earth. But the thing that matters to people, fans, that does not matter at all to Kyle and John is social media posts. The social media posts just do not matter, especially like now if he did some crazy rant about how he hates the Niners or something, that might, but he's not going to do that.
Chet York and
yeah. But if he just does like, I think I've tried to listen to some of his Instagram story rap songs. It's like there's some meaning, I think, in the lyrics and stuff. Like Deebo, that you're not going to do it. If you want out, you can't just do this. Because like, oh my God, he was quoting 21 Savage, this one lyric. It's like, yeah, Kyle ain't, they do not care.
Kyle loves rap music.
But like, I don't know, you got to say something about someone's family or something. That's what Baalke's daughter did.
We've got a trade. New Orleans is on the clock here in the Washington, in the commander's position, in the commies position. So
are they going to take a quarterback?
They definitely could. New Orleans, you're saying? Why would they need to get ahead of Washington, Minnesota? Which Minnesota going to take a quarterback? They're constantly trying to win. No, Houston, I don't think was going to. Baltimore, I don't think was going to. Philly wasn't going to. So why would New Orleans need to go to 11 to take a quarterback unless they thought somebody else was going to make a move? But who was Pittsburgh going to go up to 11? So I think here's the other thing. How good are you going to be this year with Jameis? You might just be able to draft a quarterback next year.
I think they're planning on making the playoffs.
So you only draft a quarterback. It would be weird to me. Like you draft a quarterback to sit him behind Jameis for a year, and then next year you could just draft that guy, try and help this year's team now.
I can hear your TV pretty good in my.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, let me turn that down. Sorry for the podcasters who had to listen to that.
No, it's just because of commercial. I kind of like Roger in the back.
Oh, okay. You follow that? Like, what do you think based on what I just said about New Orleans?
Yeah, I mean, they clearly have just been up to shit, right? When they made the trade with the Eagles, because it made no sense. They're thinking something internally that we're not thinking. I think it's just that simple.
Well, here's something. Jason on the stream says probably going for Jermaine Johnson. Do they view it like there's one more good pass rusher? We got to go get him.
Yeah, someone said, and it made this actually bring a little clarity. What if they thought there were 13 sweet players and they wanted to make sure they had the ammo to get one of them? And they thought this year they have a playoff team, right? Figure out next year. Because that's kind of been their mindset with Sean Payton and Drew Brees with the salary cap. Figure out next year. And they always just kind of do. Like they don't really like, let's budget out for the next 3 years. Totally. That is not their style.
No.
So you're right. Well, I mean, what if they take Kyle Hamilton or whoever?
Here's good logic.
I don't think this is a quarterback.
We said earlier, you and I both said that we think the Vikings want a DB, want a corner. What if that's what New Orleans thinks too, and they want to go get the corner that they want to get? It's going to be the third cornerback off the board or Kyle Hamilton. So jump ahead of the Vikings.
Go McDuffie.
Go McDuffie or go Kyle Hamilton.
Be bold to go safety. I think Kyle Hamilton should be a top 10 pick, but it's just like these teams don't value safeties. Remember the dude that blew the pass to Diggs?
Marcus Williams.
But it's like, he's a good player. I think he was like a second or third round pick. I think these teams just think they can get safeties in the second round, and for the most part, you can. Though if Kyle Hamilton goes to like New England at 21, watch that happen, and then he's sweet. I could see them going McDuffie here or the pass rusher. Because if you're the Vikings, wouldn't you just take the pass rusher too? Like, I just didn't watch that much Florida State football. I mean, everyone keeps talking highly of this guy.
You go receiver?
Well, Michael Thomas, we haven't seen him in about 7 years after he got paid. Who else? Could you take Chris Olave here with Jameis? Well, they gave their third pick and fourth. I mean, do you remember when the Raiders only got a third-round pick from 15 to 10 for Josh Rosen? The football team, pretty good trade, from 11 to 16, just got their third and their fourth from the Saints. That's not the greatest trade there.
Both in this year's draft.
Yeah.
Well, it just said fewest. What did that NFL Network just had a little graphic on the... Oh, never mind. That was overall points. 364 points scored. Oh, I don't care. That's a useless.
Are they on the Bellagio water?
I think that's what it looks like, right?
That's pretty cool. Remember when the kids were supposed to come out in a boat?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Why they scrap that idea?
Great question. Might have taken too long. Clearly, they're making an effort to move quickly.
This one's honestly, I guess you're not even half.
It's not really moving.
Not as fast as you think. I mean, we're hour 20 in, pick 11, basically a third of the way there. It does feel like it's going relative, like not that many people are milking it to 0-0.
Doesn't feel like it is unless they shorten it up. Oh God. Remember Marquez Callaway? Did he kill the Niners one game?
Tony Gonzalez? You know, Tony Gonzalez's ex-girlfriend, Lauren Sanchez, is now Jeff Bezos' girlfriend. She's very proud to be on like all these like climate change boards by Bezos. It's like, I wonder how you got on those.
Well,
but Tony Gonzalez hangs out with Bezos. It's kind of weird.
Interesting. Wait, is that Austin Eckler?
God, Tony Gonzalez is a good-looking dude. I mean, he's just he can't have walked in many bars in his life and not had a lot of heads turned. I mean, he's looked the same for 25 years, has he not? Does the guy age?
No.
He's like the
John Moran's dad.
Yeah, he's like the Latino Southern California version of Howie Long. Tony Gonzalez is like 46 years old. He could pass for 30. I mean, he looked like that when he played basketball at Cal.
He's got like zero body hair, I feel like. Just on his head.
Look at him compared to Eckler. I mean, if he wanted to pick Eckler up and throw him into the crowd, he easily could.
Oh, they're promoting Chargers at Chiefs on Amazon Prime, September 15th. So there you go. That's why they're together.
First Thursday night game is Chargers Chiefs
on Amazon Prime. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
He's promoting Bezos's product too?
I'm telling you, guy, it's like some weird stuff going on with Tony, Bezos, Lauren Sanchez. I mean, they got some, Jerry Buss. I don't know. There's something there. And I don't even blame Tony. Lauren's older too. Lauren is probably, if Tony's 45, I bet she's in her 50s. So I guess not that much older. She's closer to Bezos' age than Tony.
I heard somebody make the point that New Orleans, doesn't have a first-round pick next year.
Yeah, the Eagles.
But they'll get it back when they trade Sean Payton, who apparently is negotiating for a big Fox studio deal, according to some report.
If you and me ran a studio, why would I pay a lot of money for someone to be in my studio?
Well, TNT, I was thinking about this today. Like, who's worth more, Charles Barkley or Troy Aikman? Like, we don't know what Charles makes. I presume it's not $17 million a year.
Charles probably makes about 10, though.
Saints pick is in. Chris Olave, they went receiver. Wow.
It's like, why are these guys plummeting like a rock? And they go 10 and 11.
There's already 3 receivers been drafted. But anyway, you could argue for TNT. TNT is the studio show that people watch, right?
It's the only one, that I watch.
So, but at the same time, how many people watch Charles versus how many people watch Troy, right? Troy's like on some weeks probably 3x.
I would have. I mean, how many?
Charles is on for multiple hours, right? Like between games, like this game does 5 million, this game does 3 million. He's on through all of them, so he probably gets seen by all those people, right?
What do you think Troy and Joe are going to do some weeks this year, though? Probably 12, 15?
Yeah. But you'd also say, okay, what percentage of my audience doesn't watch if Charles isn't there versus how much of a percentage bump is Monday Night Football going to get with Troy?
I think paying Troy and Joe is way less crazier than what happened with Tony. Like, people were watching that game with Phil Simms. They would have watched it if you would have put fucking, quarterback X. Troy, ESPN was pretty desperate.
Yeah, I mean, but I think whatever they paid Tony the first time was easy money, because I think forget about ratings for a second, like the profile of their show, because really ESPN's Monday Night Football ratings, I'll be interested to see how much do they dramatically change. Part of why they did what they did was just the way they were getting their brand was just taking a hit. CBS's football brand got a boost from Tony. Not that it was in a bad place, but Tony did boost it.
True.
Just with average, just like people who don't watch football.
Made him cool.
Okay.
Made him actually really cool. I mean, those first 2 years with Tony, they got a lot of credit.
Yeah,
did they not?
Just any casual fan be like, oh yeah, the guy that predicts picks. All right, quick recap for people if you're just joining, if you forgot or you want to know here's what's going on. Jags take Trevon Walker out of Georgia, D lineman. Lions take Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan. Texans take Derek Stingley Jr., cornerback LSU. Sauce Gardner Jr. Sauce Gardner goes to the Jets, cornerback Cincy. Kayvon Thibodeau goes to the Giants at 5. Ike Ekwonu, the O-lineman, goes to the Panthers at 6. Evan Neal goes to the Giants at 7, offensive lineman. Drake London, the first receiver to the Falcons at 8. Charles Cross goes to the Seahawks at 9, tackle from Mississippi State. Garrett Wilson to the Jets at 10. Not Deebo. What?
I think the Lions just traded up to 12.
Chris Olave to the Saints at 11. And the Lions traded up with Minnesota. So Minnesota, did New Orleans take the guy they wanted?
Who?
Well, we thought Minnesota wanted to take – they weren't going to take Chris Olave, were they?
Are you sure the Minnesota just didn't get the Lions first-round pick or something? It just did a value, like whatever. We don't even care.
Well, did they just – Minnesota's going back to 32, right?
I mean, that'd be the only spot to go, right?
Yeah.
There really haven't been any shockers. Just hearing you list those names, every single name that has been drafted through 12 has been the names in the mix, right? Every single one.
Yes. Yep. Are they about to take a receiver they like?
I think they're about to take a quarterback, right? Are they about to take Malik? Are they about to take Malik Willis right here? Kind of there, like I'm not comparing them to these guys, but like they're. Remember when the Chiefs and the Texans traded up really far to get a quarterback?
Yeah. This is kind of that spot. You're right.
This would be Malik Willis and the Lions. Feels like a failure, doesn't it? Like, can you envision Malik Willis being good on the Lions?
Was he sitting this year?
Yeah, he would be. You would go Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo, the poor man's version.
So 12, a second-round pick swap for 32 and a third. So 12 and a second for 32, a second, and a third.
Does that feel like enough?
To go from 32 to 12, so basically a second-round pick swap and a third. That feels like a long way to go. Yeah, you're right.
So they get an extra 10.
They get a third, and how many spots? Like, yeah, whatever the equivalent is in the next round. 20 spots in the next round, too?
Isn't that a pretty easy trade for the Lions?
I don't know. It's a long way to go, though, unless you just don't like anybody.
What do you mean?
Oh, sorry, the Lions. Yes.
I would assume they had to give up the first round pick.
Minnesota, yeah. Well, they did. They gave him 32. They swapped first.
You mean
another first?
Usually you got to give the first round pick next year.
Jamison Williams. They just took Jamison Williams.
You're right.
And apparently the Eagles have also traded up. So the receivers, are they going to take another receiver here?
Why wouldn't the Lions just take Jamison Williams? Or I mean the Vikings. Just put him with what's his name? Just have like
Justin
we're going to be
Jefferson?
awesome.
They still have Thielen, right?
Do you know what the Lions just
I think
did?
they're trying to win this year. What?
Lions just jumped Philly. Howie not happy.
Well, who made the trade first, Philly or the Lions? Because Philly also just traded up to 13 with Houston.
I know, but they would have wanted Jamison Williams.
But who made the trade first?
The Lions did.
Lions made the trade, and then Philly made the trade?
Yeah, then they started probably freaked. Who else is even on the board? What other receivers?
Let's see. We've had Olave go. We've had Garrett Wilson go. We had Drake London go. Now Jamison Williams is gone. I mean, it feels like that was the top tier, right? Shakir?
Anyone else is there? The Eagles are going to take?
Who?
They're going to take McDuffie, I bet.
Before Baltimore can?
Or Jordan Davis. They're going to take
What about
they're
Burks?
going to take
Forgot about Burks.
Yeah, but I don't think the Eagles view him that high. I'd be a little surprised.
Oh, Dotson?
Isn't Dotson
receiver
from Baylor?
Penn State. Small guy.
Yeah, don't they have a bunch of small? I would go McDuffie or Jordan Davis.
Which Philly pick did they get? 15 or 18? Because Philly has 15 and 18. Which one did they send to the Lions? Philly has. So they sent them 15.
So the
Texans. Texans.
So the
Texans just moved down 2 spots.
So not a big deal. Who's 14?
Baltimore.
They feel like they have Jordan Davis written all over them. Doesn't Jordan Davis feel like a Baltimore Raven?
Not only does he feel like a Baltimore Raven, he feels like a few years ago when the Spurs drafted DeJounte Murray like at 28, and everyone's like, "Oh fuck, the Spurs got DeJounte Murray! God damn it!" Do you see DeJounte Murray's like the most improved player in the league this year?
Yeah,
or second maybe for that award. Yeah, Jordan. To your point, yes, Jordan Davis to the Ravens feels like a no-brainer. So where are we at? 130. Phillies on.
We started getting a little action here.
I know. So the Lions just drafted Jameis. Okay. Just trying to keep track for the show notes here. A lot going on.
Do you think he's going to like Jared Goff?
Yeah, just go deep, baby. How can you draft Williams with an ACL? I mean, the belief is what? That he'll be ready to roll by October. And what are the Lions like? So what? Lions are going to be in third place by October. Oh no, Jameis, they're not going to be good this year. This is actually, they're a great, I mean, the Lions being a bad organization historically is not great for them, but they're the kind of team that could draft a hurt receiver, I guess. Although
Eagles pick is in.
How are they going to get a quarterback?
Who?
The Lions.
Suck and get the number 1 pick next year? I bet the Eagles take Jordan Davis.
Pretty good. I mean, Jameson Williams
does not feel like a great fit on the Lions.
Not for their current quarterback.
Yeah, like with Stafford in his prime.
Would have been amazing.
Stafford and Calvin.
That's why I wanted him to go 17 with the Chargers.
Like put the perfect team together of the guys that you once had.
Did you see?
Could the Niners get you potty back?
I saw a photo today of Andre Johnson. Sorry for my TV. Andre Johnson's draft night where he's taking the call from the Texans.
The dude from Miami.
Yeah. He's wearing a Tracy McGrady Magic jersey.
At his house?
He's just like on the couch, a million people behind him, next to his mom, T-Mac jersey.
That's pretty sweet.
That's cool.
What year would that have been? Like 02 or something? 03?
Yeah. I mean, well, no. He got drafted
04.
After David Carr or before David Carr?
Maybe the next year. Was he a high pick?
03. Yeah, he was the 3rd overall pick in 03.
You remember that video of Andre Johnson and Cortland Finnegan fighting? Like full-on brawl? Like
no. Was it a practice?
No, it was at Andre played for the Texans. He played for the Titans, and they, went at it for years. Eventually, just one of those things, like kept bumping them, and like before the play, maybe it was after the play. They just had a full-on fist fight on the field. Like they were corner and wide receiver.
Cortland Finnegan, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, Cortland Finnegan. Yeah, I think Cortland Finnegan was the guy.
Cortland Sutton was the other name. Yeah, Carson Palmer, Andre Johnson, Terrence Newman, Troy Polamalu went 16 that draft. Pretty good year for the Trojans.
Sixers didn't blow it.
Doc
got a little edgy. You see that?
Yeah, I know.
I love it when a good coach starts rattling off history. People are on him.
Dude, well, you've talked to coaches. Coaches don't usually talk like that on the microphone. They talk like that behind the scenes all the time. Like to media.
I think he'd had enough. Don't you think?
Clearly. But to me, that's the kind of thing he said to those media guys before with the mics off. Coaches love that shit. If you look back at 02, he had an Achilles. His Achilles was sore. Nobody knew about it. He kept playing, but you guys got to understand, Pat Garrity sucked.
I saw Rick Bucher like, if we're going to go down this road, Rasheed Wallace was out. He started like listening. This guy had a hurt Achilles. It's like, no one cares. I mean, it was 20 years ago. Doc, no one actually cares, Doc. They just care about this team not blowing it. Like, you don't need to rehash 0-2. Maybe as a coach, you don't forget about that. Maybe honestly, like, he thinks about it more than you think. Not like you, but you don't just like, maybe it crosses his mind more often. He does take a lot of shit for like being the only coach to like twice blow 3-1 leads, I think. Maybe he has like 3 3-1 leads or something.
Is that what it is, really?
It's definitely 3 because he listed off the Magic, the Clippers twice. I think did he do it with the Sixers? Or no, he was in danger of it being this year with the Sixers. I mean, the Sixers won it at 132-97. So, Doc had the boys ready. Nice little game from Embiid. Suns in a little trouble.
Here's a. Let's go to social media, John, for a moment.
Jordan Davis.
TREY LANCE has tweeted. Tony Jefferson 8 hours ago said, "I think Deebo will be a Jet by the end of the night." TREY LANCE tweeted 20 minutes ago, "Stop it, Tony." My question, why didn't Trey, was he not confident enough to tweet that 8 hours ago? He had to wait to make sure he didn't get traded to tweet, "Stop it, Tony"?
What if he's just been working out and in the playbook hadn't had his phone around, and then he checks his phone, people would forward him that tweet and he had to reply.
Somebody get me my phone. I'm about to hand Tony Jefferson this L.
Eagles building, I would say the Eagles are the current Denver Broncos now of a team that just like, you'd want to play quarterback for them, right? They're just kind of building the squad.
100%. Could Trey tweet that if he didn't think Jimmy Garoppolo was getting traded? I don't think he could tweet that as the backup quarterback.
I think no one would care if he wasn't like, if he was just like TREY LANCE, the 5th rounder, you wouldn't have brought that up, right? I think, what if he just likes Deebo? I don't think it's that crazy.
I'm asking if that tweet happened. I mean, it's hard to put yourself.
What
in
if you're
scenario.
Deebo like Trey? Fuck, you don't speak for me.
Well, what are you going to burn that bridge? Either he's gone or he's back. And if he comes back, you said I wanted him here.
Yeah, I just think you put all your chips in the middle of the table. Like, Deebo, I got your back.
I got your back, but I don't want you gone. I want you here. I'm part of the solution. Let's break some bread.
And Deebo's like, Trey, you've started 2 games for our team. And
Sit down, youngin.
You have made 12x what I've made in 3 years.
Yeah.
That pisses me off even thinking about it.
There's a scene in the Showtime book where like they get, I don't know if it's Wes Matthews Sr. or they get somebody on the team and they're having like a team meeting and they're like going around the room and that guy talks and Magic's like, sit. What does he say? He says, shut the fuck up. Magic's like, shut. No one asked you. Basically like, no. This is a discussion for the people who have been here, not for the new guy.
Do you know that Norm Nixon in the show is played by Norm Nixon's son?
What? I thought that guy looks like an actor that I've seen a bunch of times. Is he not?
He is an actor. He is Norm Nixon's son. I watched like on YouTube the interview he just did an interview with Rich Eisen. He's Norm's kid. How crazy is that?
Wait. The actor is Norm's kid?
The actor who is an actual actor is Norm Nixon's son.
No way.
Well, that's what he told Rich.
Is it the basketball player maybe that like the guy does the basketball action? You're saying the actor.
I'm saying the guy that plays Norm Nixon in the show is actually Norm Nixon's son. How incredible is that?
That is incredible. I remember. I don't know if you remember early when Dick Enberg was in it. It was actually Dick Enberg's son that played Dick Enberg. It was like early in the first episode, I think.
Was Chick Hearn really that big of a disaster?
Apparently.
I thought he was like, whenever people said Chick Hearn, I always thought like broadcasting legend.
He is, but you know how it is. Like just because you're a broadcasting legend to the people doesn't mean behind the scenes you weren't difficult.
So he was a difficult drunk.
The book.
What did you think about him before even seeing?
Yes, just like basically basketball's Vin Scully. That's what I thought.
And they just happened to both.
But I've heard stories like if you remember, it came up with Papa when we talked to him. Jordan Davis went to the Eagles. Sorry, we skipped that. Jordan Davis, nice suit, big red stripe across the front. Norm Nixon's brother-in-law is Ahmad Rashad.
How fun is that guy's? This guy.
I gotta tell you, man, I love this pick for Philly.
This guy's a fucking load.
He does not How about when you see the big guys who like don't look like they have bellies?
He's big, bro, in a good way.
Fat, PH, Lil Kim. What's the name of the Lakers show on TV?
Winning Time.
Okay, so Washington is now on the clock, by the way.
Wasn't Baltimore on the clock?
Oh, I'm sorry, wrong Philly pick. Baltimore's on the clock at 14.
So where's Washington?
Washington is in the 16 spot where New Orleans was. So we've got Baltimore, then we've got Philly again, then we've got Washington from New Orleans still to come.
Who's 17?
The Chargers.
Who's 18?
New Orleans. Their Philly pick from a while back.
Kyle Hamilton's plummeting. It kind of feels like Kyle Hamilton's going to be a Raven. Jordan Davis, Kyle Hamilton feel Raveny, don't they? Both those guys do.
Wait a second. It's Baltimore, Philly.
I got Eagles, Baltimore, Texans, football team, Chargers, Saints. I don't know who 19 is.
She got Baltimore. Oh, you know what? I don't think I wrote in Philly. It's Houston. It's Baltimore, Houston. Baltimore, Houston, Washington.
Yeah.
Right. Is that correct?
Because Texans and Philly just flip-flopped, right? Philly traded up to Houston spot. They just traded back a couple spots. Probably added like a fourth.
Right. So Baltimore's on the clock. Then it's the Texans. Then it's the football team. Somebody in the stream.
Here's what I would imagine just happened. The Eagles wanted Jamison Williams or Jordan Davis. The Lions kind of, I would say, somewhat came out of nowhere. Like, that's pretty crazy. They came from 32. And Philly's probably sitting like, are they going to take Malik Willis? No, because he's not good. So they take Jamison Williams. Then they realize, well, two of the guys, we had to draft one of the two guys at our spot 15. We know the Ravens will take the other guy, and we know Jamison's gone. So we have to trade with Houston. And Baltimore probably got screwed. They were just sitting there. Unless the Ravens were cool with Kyle Hamilton or Jordan Davis. We'll see what they do. Because I would imagine the Texans will take Kyle Hamilton at 15 if the Ravens do not.
That was a guy that Daniel Jeremiah said he actually suggested they could take him at 3 because he thinks that the Patriots guys would really like Kyle Hamilton.
I'll be mad just because I think this guy's going to be so good and their team is so awesome, and that means Brandon Staley's going to be good. Are the Chargers going to end up with McDuffie at 17? And they just sat there and didn't do anything, and they just get one of the best players in the draft?
And they drafted corners in back-to-back years?
And they just have this sweet defense. How good is their defense going to be? Bosa's, J.C. Jackson,
Khalil Mack,
Asante the fourth, and I guess do they really need McDuffie? Why not?
Think about their division. Like they're like we play Josh McDaniels and Derek, we play the Chiefs,
Andy and Mahomes,
and now we play Russ. Like, yeah, we need McDuffie.
Feels like McDuffie's going here in this little stretch. Honestly, he could go to the Ravens. He kind of feels like a Raven too. Any good guy that's good defensive player feels like a Raven.
That's a good, good guy isn't like a good dude, right? Yeah.
Who's tough and who plays defense. You're like a Raven. I texted someone the other day because like the Mets are just getting in fights nonstop, and with Buck, it's like they just kind of feel like the Ravens. They're just ready for shit, you know? You just use the Ravens.
Benches cleared. No one got hit the other day. The Ravens are like a loosey-goosey, like a team that wants to fight but keeps their shit together, whereas the Bengals were historically a team that wants to fight that doesn't keep it together.
Yeah, but with the Ravens, like if you really want to fight, they deep down are kind of down.
Kyle Hamilton, the pick.
So the Texans can't take McDuffie because they've already taken what if they just took two corners? Be like, we're going to have the best defensive backfield in the league.
Don't you, if you're Houston, just take the best player on your board? Who cares if you just took the position? I think so many spots.
Don't you just take the Florida State guy here? He's a pass rusher.
Oh.
Kyle Hamilton should be he doesn't look happy at all. It's got to be pretty embarrassing. I mean, probably thought he was a top 5 pick.
But he didn't show up tonight thinking he was a top 5 pick, did he?
No,
Does he walk with a limp?
I just think he's probably pretty. I mean, he got to view himself. I mean, he's a really. It's just. I mean, you probably saw some of the names. You're like, what? But he's This is one of those where you went to a pretty special spot.
It's not like another safety got drafted either, right? You can tell yourself, like, I guess my position.
Do you think he looks happy to you?
No, he does not look happy at all. But maybe he's just a Notre Dame Raven guy. Like, they don't smile.
I could see John liking this. Like, you're pissed. I can see it. We're pissed off. We're all pissed off. He's not happy.
Perfect. He just told Roger. Perfect. I mean, I think you get acclimated pretty quickly. Right?
For sure. I mean, it has to be. There's a difference. Like Jordan Davis.
We got to trade, John, with a player. The Ravens just traded Hollywood Brown and pick 100 to the Cardinals for pick 23.
Wow.
Mark,
these guys are wheeling and dealing.
100 for 20. Damn.
So basically
Arizona figured all the receivers we like are gone.
No, I think Arizona figured that we lost Christian Kirk. We don't want to draft another receiver. We want a guy who can just speed and go deep. And the Ravens are going to take Treylon Burks right there to throw with Lamar.
Which is scary.
Which is going to be sweet. They're going to add... Whoa. Who's that? That's definitely not a mom.
Kyle Hamilton?
She knows what she's doing. She said, honey, I'm coming to Baltimore with you.
All right,
Tell Lamar I'm coming.
Houston's on the clock now. Kyle Hamilton. You're right. I mean, like, I don't blame a guy for being disappointed, but how could you go to a better place?
Maybe he's just not a super excited guy, but so
I think Notre Dame guys, Stanford guys, kind of similar. Hollywood Brown last year, John, 90 catches, 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns, average 11 yards per catch.
So tell me that trade again.
That trade is Marquise Brown and pick 100 to the Cardinals for pick 23.
They flipped Hollywood Brown into a first-round pick?
Hollywood Brown and a second. Well, I guess a third.
You said a fourth.
I said pick 100. That's the end of the third. That's actually that's either their, like, that's like their Matt Judon or their, who's the other guy they lost? That's one of their comp picks.
For pick 23? Doesn't that feel like a lot? You know what that feels like?
I mean, it feels like they want to get rid of Hollywood Brown, kind of.
Well, and it feels like Arizona, little desperate. Like, no more. We're trying to win.
They are. Right? Well, I agree with that. Yeah.
Way more. Like, to me, the Ravens, like, we're not going to extend Hollywood Brown, move him into pick 23, good receiver draft. Let's take a receiver.
Did they get whiffed that he was about to pull a Deebo after next year? Kenyon Green, guard, Texas A&M to the Houston Texans. Got to protect Davis Mills. Washington is now on the clock.
Is that easily the most boring pick so far of the draft?
Yeah.
I think right there, the Arizona Cardinals, this is, some asses are tight there, right? The season ended weird. Kyler's being weird. The owner was pissed off, but he was stuck, so he extended the two guys. But it's like one of those, I'm extending you because I don't really want to go on a search, and you guys aren't terrible, but I don't think you're great, but I'm kind of stuck, and ultimately money's all funny money anyway, but we better win. And that is, like, I would not be happy if my team made that move. Hollywood Brown and a third for pick 23. Like, I'd rather just have Treylon Burks. Give me the hope of the new guy. Like, I know little Hollywood.
Sean on the stream says Arizona's trying to make Kyler happy by bringing his college homie back.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Teammates, huh? Oh.
Is Kyler pulling that string?
The chat.
Kyler they just got the 5th-year option with Kyler. They finally did it a couple days ago or yesterday.
Which they were always going to do, right?
Yeah, which they were always going to do.
He wants,
but I think I also think you're correct about them.
Did they just overpay for a friend who, again, he's more than a friend? Like, the guy 90 catches in the NFL.
Say you're just a friend.
Does Kyler have them by the balls a little bit? In a weird way, even though he doesn't, because
it's also
pay him, but he's kind of stuck with him. It's kind of a weird position.
They also got it. I could also see them desperate, yes, but also let's get it as good as we can for Kyler, and let's also figure out what this guy is, because they've gotten close for a few years now.
Guy, they just had Hopkins.
I know.
Kirk. They drafted
Brown?
a little dude from Purdue who was awesome.
Not AJ Brown. AJ
Smith or AJ Green.
AJ Green, yeah.
Who I'm pretty sure
coming
not
back.
A huge Kyler guy. Who actually was pretty good last year.
Yosu says, would it be something if Deebo was announcing the pick tomorrow for the Niners? No, Eric Armstead's announcing the pick. Maybe he would show up, though. Deebo's in Vegas. A lot of people are saying, yeah, apparently he's going for an autograph signing, according to the chat earlier.
How awesome would that be, though? Tomorrow, pick 61. He came out. Just kidding, everybody. With the 61st selection, the 49ers take. That'd be a pretty funny moment.
That would be pretty funny.
What if Eric walked out and be like, hey, guys, I'm here for the 49ers, but really quick, I got a friend. And then he looks and Deebo came out.
What if Eric goes out there with the Cardinals, like, with the 61st pick, the San Francisco 49ers select Deebo Samuel.
Deebo, you just got in need of a little cash. Would it be, Jed can't Venmo him a little money to hold him over? Be a salary cap
in advance
violation?
Again, we know what Eddie D would do.
He would have loads of bags of cash delivered to wherever he's at in South Carolina or Florida or Miami. I feel like Deebo's been, I could see the background of some of his Insta stories. Like, that looks like LA. Deebo, for a guy that loves the South, he's sure spending some. And listen, LA, I get it. I understand it. I've always been a hater. It's sweeter than up here. It's warmer. The sweet areas are just sweeter. But you can't hang your hat on I hate the Texas and I hate California and then be fucking spending your time in LA just because you think it's sweet. Which
if he wants to train with me, he's got to come to Florida.
Well, can't you just bring him down there? Sure feels like a lot of Tom Brady, Russell Wilson videos over the year at UCLA's campus, right?
Or were they at USC? I thought they were USC. I think Tom would go to Tom House, would go to Dado Field or something like that. I thought. No?
Feels like Russ was at UCLA a lot. One of them was.
I could be wrong. For some reason, Tom House in my head was SC guy, so I thought Tom was with him.
Do you feel like Russell Wilson was at UCLA?
I honestly don't. I can't picture Russell. I remember Russell in Hawaii.
Yeah, he does do some videos in weird places. There'll be a soccer net in the back. Where are you?
At a Airbnb in Italy.
I just don't understand why everywhere they go, full security. It's like, Russell, no one's going to take her out here, buddy. It's just, Peyton's a row behind you with his son, a Diet Coke. It's like, Peyton just shows, he just parks his Suburban, fucking gets out, VIP, walks in. You don't need these 7 people. Glenn Taylor and Russell Wilson, you better have your head on a swivel. You're going to take them out because they got security guards everywhere. Most other people, like Tom Brady, you see him hey, what's up, Tom? Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Russell's
I wonder if it's
speak to my client.
I wonder if it's more Sierra.
Doesn't it feel a little Russell though?
It's
either coaching it or allowing it to happen.
They just feel like they're a good fit, is what I mean.
How many NFL quarterbacks go around places with full guard security? Do you think Matt Ryan's gone anywhere with security in his life? Again, and in fairness to her, if it is for her, if she's had an incident, I would somewhat get it. But it does feel, you give me the example, separate from her. Something happened?
Yeah. Real Adam Schefter has just tweeted, Titans are planning to trade A.J. Brown to the Eagles. Sources tell ESPN.
Roseman.
Meanwhile, Washington commies are picking. Holy shit. Commies take Jahan Dotson, wide receiver, Penn State. So, oh my God.
What pick's that?
Well, Chargers are now on the clock at 17. Philly's number 18 spot is up next, but I guess you would have to think that goes to Tennessee. Tennessee just love Burks. See, you know what I could see happening? This would the Niners don't do the deal. Tennessee does the deal. Tennessee gets the guy you'd want the Niners to take. it works out for them. And somehow this Niners situation does not work out with Deebo, and it just burns them. Like they hold on too long, hold on to the asset, unemotional. Tennessee's like, whatever. There's no back and forth. Fine. You want to go? Here you go. You're going to Philadelphia. Give us the guy we like. We're taking Burks, and nice knowing you. And the Niners is just, we love him. We want him back. We're the heroes. We brought him back. And then he like pulls a hammy week 2.
Are these guys going, are both of them going scorched earth, but only one guy opened his mouth? The other guy kept quiet?
Well, the guy that didn't say anything just got traded. Now, same agent. Feels to me more like the Niners like Deebo maybe more than Tennessee. Deebo just took the 49ers to the – maybe Kyle's more attached to Deebo. John, they're more attached to Deebo than the Titans are to A.J. Brown. I mean, A.J. did have when was his knee surgery? Did he have a knee surgery?
Would the Niners have done – would you feel good about this pick? The Titans traded him for the 18 and a third-round pick. I don't know if 49er fans would have been cool with that.
No, but I mean, the counter would be, hey guys, what people have been saying to us for weeks, right? Here's what Tyreek got. Here's what Devontae is. Like 1 first-round pick. You should be happy with that. Just draft his replacement, move on, right?
Well, it's pretty clear, right? That's the going rate, correct? Who's drafting 18th? I thought the Saints
it's supposed to be Philly.
I don't know why I wrote down the Saints.
Well, because that used to be the Saints pick. Saints are 19.
So the Titans are at 18.
Titans are now at 18. Chargers that just took a guard, Zion Johnson, protect Justin Herbert. That's fine. So, wow, 18 and I mean they have to be drafting.
Well, here's the problem for the Niners. The market's set, right? Like that's just the going rate. You would say the going rate for Deebo now is probably 35-38. Like that would be the offer. Because if you're the Jets, like A.J. Brown, say what you want. Like, even if the Niners value Deebo more than they valued A.J., it's pretty clear they valued A.J. pretty high. And they were the number 1 fucking seed, beat the Niners because A.J. Brown kicked the shit out of the Niners. The number's the number now. Like, the Niners don't like, well, we're going to need 35-38 next year's. Like, that's just all that stuff off the table.
Yeah, now it's like you're just being stubborn, which I'm good. I'm fine with them being stubborn, but, you know, if this works out for the Titans, this is the deal. This is the deal you could have done. You could have done it at 10. Here's the other thing. We know now that A.J. Brown's about to sign a contract, right? How much is Howie Roseman going to pay him?
Is Howie dominating as a GM this last, 12 months? Honestly.
He just needs to find it. The Rager pick wasn't great, but he's bounced back from it. He went Arcega-Whiteside, Rager, and now Devontae Smith, and he's getting A.J. Brown. He needs a receiver. I did not see the Deebo commercial about the draft. Was that commercial already airing? I don't know what you're talking about, John. Have you seen the Deebo commercial?
No.
What is...
They did move JJ to tight end. Did you see that? They're moving him to tight end. JJ Arcega-Whiteside is now a tight end.
Yes, I did see that. Yeah, sorry.
Which again, not ideal. I guess that's a knock.
Not great. But what's this contract about to be? Right? He's getting traded to the Eagles because the Eagles know what they're about to pay him.
Yeah, I think the Niners are somewhat on the clock to figure this out.
Can you now go back and trade Deebo for 2 seconds after this just happened and you're not getting...
Well, I think 35 and 38 would probably equal 18, right?
Right, but what I'm saying is unlike 18, you're not getting the first-round receiver.
But are we sure that the Jets... I think there were some differing reports. Are we sure 10 was on the table?
We're not sure, but you could have...
I don't know if it was.
You didn't want to trade him to Philly? Different conference?
I don't think Philly would rather had Deebo Samuel.
You might be right about that. Which is you said something like that.
But if you were Philly, if I was an independent team, I would rather have A.J. Brown than Deebo Samuel. What makes Deebo this such a complicated issue is he makes by far the most sense with Kyle. And that's why we also LaFleur knows how to operate that, and McDaniels knows how to. Well, Mike McDaniel blew his load on Tyreek. LaFleur, they're just out now. They got their guy. I just, unless they wanted to go super heavy, does he even have a market? Who wants him? Remember the
Jets already took.
The Lions were another team. They're out.
Yep.
Right? Again, I have
New England
I
at
have no
21?
problem with just not giving them away.
I'm with you. My point is, and this goes back to we've talked about the Niners and the Rams do business differently. The Titans just did business differently than the Niners, right? And whether or not it works for them, and Tennessee just they got Robert Woods a while ago, right?
Yeah, they traded for Bobby Trees.
Whether or not it works for them is completely dependent. It just I'm trying to figure out why does it feel so different.
Are they going to take a wide receiver here?
I'll be surprised if they don't, but maybe they don't.
Well, I'll tell you why it feels different. No one's talked about this. This just comes out of nowhere.
But it also feels like they clearly were not as married to him. Maybe it's because they have a defensive head coach. Maybe, I don't know. They clearly are not as married to him. The 49ers, not even since Deebo requested a trade, over the course of the year, kept reminding everybody how much they love Deebo just by talking about him that way. Now, we don't cover the Titans on a daily basis. Were they talking about A.J. Brown that way?
I just got a text from inside the Eagles. A.J. Brown, baby! I think this has been way louder, and this is why John Lynch was mad. You do not high-level John Robinson, Patriot guy. Howie Roseman, killer. Vrabel, Patriot guy. High-level people don't do business like the way Deebo did business. The moment Deebo did business like this, it's like, listen, we don't do business like this.
So Deebo played the wrong hand, but
yeah, he did.
But they don't. Are they trading him if he does it like A.J. Brown? They didn't want to trade him either way.
Well, I think you might have had some realistic conversations. Like, you're right. There was never been like, people were sniffing around on A.J. Brown. There hasn't been a peep. That's how good trades happen.
Yeah, that's true. But the point I'm making is that it even pre-trade, I know how the Niners felt about Deebo because they said it all the time. Kyle said it all the time. It feels to me like the Niners are more attached to Deebo.
I thought John Robinson said in his press conference, we plan on he might have lied. Because I'm pretty sure he said something about A.J. Brown being I don't know, Titan for life is the right word, but he said something like kind of kept everyone off the scent.
Interesting.
But again, I do think that the best businesses in the NFL, or the best run operations, the way they do business is, under the comfort of darkness, no talking through Schefter, and it's just not getting out.
If you're the owner of the Cardinals right now, John.
Yeah.
Would you be looking at your GM like, wait, Steve, did we call about A.J. Brown?
But that's where it gets back to like the Hollywood connection. They need a speed guy. They already have DeAndre Hopkins, who kind of plays that role.
Get his buddy.
I think it's more of a get his buddy. Once the commenter said it made sense. So Zion Johnson, who's that guard? So now the Chargers have a good offensive line too.
All right, we've got an A.J. Brown contract, John. According to Ian Rappaport, A.J. Brown is 4 years, $100 million, 57 guaranteed.
I think you could give Deebo that contract tomorrow, right?
A little surprised that the Titans weren't going to give him that contract. Are the Titans worried about his knee?
So we got Jalen Dotson, wide receiver, Zion Johnson. Now the Titans are going to take. Are we sure they're taking a wide receiver?
I think they are. But let's see. The Titans select Treylon Burks. This is the guy I think the Niners were. This is the whole thing we did the other day. If you trade Deebo, this is the guy you take. I'm not saying you should do that, but this is the guy.
So you're saying that the Titans just one-upped the Niners?
I'm saying that we now are getting something that we rarely get in sports, which is parallel. We get to watch parallel universes play out. The Niners could have done that. Now, you're right. They needed the Jets to give them 10. Then they could have traded back, or they could have. Treylon Burks was too hot at 10. Fine. You move back and take him. But look, there were trades happening all over the place, by the way. So if they had gotten 10, they could have gone back to 13, or they could have gone back to 12. They could have moved. It would have been the problem is you didn't want to trade with Philly, who Philly might have taken Treylon Burks then. But the point is, we have parallel universes here. The Titans just did what the Niners could have done. Doesn't mean the Niners should have done it, but this is the guy we talked about the other day.
But I do not think the Eagles would have done that deal for Deebo Samuel. Do you agree?
Yeah, I'm saying that
No, but I'm just saying, was that deal on the table from Philly and the contract for Deebo Samuel?
If they had said no on AJ Brown, maybe they would have done that deal. If the Titans have said we're not, because it feels like this deal wasn't done 8 seconds ago, right? This deal was done contingent on everything falling into place.
Feels like this deal's been done now for this has been happening for a while.
But reverse the roles, where the Titans treat AJ Brown like he's not going anywhere, and the Niners are silently open to doing business. It wouldn't shock me if Philly did that same deal.
Have the Niners been silently open to doing business, or have they been pretty adamant? They're like asking for the moon just because like he's asking for a trade, but they're no intent on trading him.
It feels like their first response has been, "Yeah, no, call me back if you got something more." And the Titans were like, "Okay, yeah, let's."
This is where I think, in fairness, the Niners did not want to move. They don't. Deebo's their player. They want to keep him. They want to play and win football games with Deebo. The Titans have kind of been playing the Belichick. Well, let's just do some math here. Let's make some phone calls. Hey, Howie, I know that you were interested in Calvin Ridley before he got caught on a 17 parlay. That moron. No one ever wins a parlay. But we got a guy for you. His agent is not our favorite guy, but he's clearly sniffing around a bunch of money. How about you talk to him? Now, this was coordinated. This was very silent. How big of a story would this have been if this was like 2 days ago?
Well, it would have been like the Deebo story. On and on and on and on.
Well, you know why you can't let it out? Because if you're the Titans, you need the wide receiver to be there, right? Is it safe to say they targeted this specific wide receiver?
Yes. Just like
a big guy.
Yes. Just like I think the Niners would have.
I wonder if the Titans are thinking a little more bigger picture. Just like
they don't have
franchise. They don't have like their starting.
They don't have their quarterback. Yeah.
They do. I mean, he does make a lot of money.
And you'd argue the one thing that makes it not a parallel universe is the Niners have Kyle Shanahan and the Titans don't, right?
They got Todd Downing.
That's what I said. Don't have Kyle Shanahan.
That draft got pretty interesting there for like 25 minutes, didn't it?
It got extremely interesting. I saw, a lot of people like to ask draft analysts, and I saw one today in particular. Somebody asked Benjamin Albright, Ben, any surprises tonight? And his answer was, well, I don't know. It depends on what surprised you versus what would surprise me. My answer was like, well, predicting surprises is an oxymoron. Like if it was a surprise, I couldn't predict it. So here we go.
If of every team in the NFL draft, if I said whose fans currently are the happiest, would you say the team that ended up with Jordan Davis and AJ Brown?
Yes, I would say that.
Yep. How if you're just like a diehard Titan, you're a season ticket holder of Titans, how are you feeling right now?
Not great, but I think you feel pretty good about this receiver.
Howie's got 2 first-round picks next year. I mean, Roseman's had one of the great comebacks in NFL history, has he not?
It feels like he does all these deals and loses and just gains picks somehow. Right?
AJ Brown's not as productive. I mean, he only had 6-3 catches last year.
Well, he was hurt.
I know, but I felt like even when he was playing, he was a little more productive.
Well, he had Thursday Night Football was.
Was that you saying that that was by far his best output?
I think
Didn't we do a video or something on that? And it was like we looked at his game logs. It was like, whoa, this. Now, and who was he going up against? Middlekauff out there on an island.
Yeah, he had one other double-digit catch game, and that was against Indianapolis. But 11 for 145 was his best game. Yes,
there is. But honestly, like giving a guy $57 million, isn't that the risk reward for him? Isn't it worth it for the Eagles? It's not that much. It's like a 3-year contract.
The Eagles are a great example. No, it's not that much. The Eagles are a great example too. It's like as an example for the Niners, when we talk about 61 tomorrow. Well, I don't know if you can draft a guard. You just drafted a guard last year in the second round. I'll give Howie, you worked for him, a lot of credit. If he thinks he took an L, he just moves on. Don't let your L, don't lose twice, right? Don't let it be like just the same way people talk about your mentals. You get beat by a receiver. Don't be thinking about it if you're a DB on the next play. Don't let him beat you twice. Howie, Arcega-Whiteside, fuck it. Jalen Reagor, whatever, move on. Right?
You know what? I bet happens. I bet Reagor by the end of the weekend's traded for like a 5th. Just get him out of the building. One of those. You can do. It's easier to do when you get AJ Brown. Like no one's like, you gave away Reagor for a 6. It's like what everyone's just talking about AJ Brown. That's when you pivot on Saturday about lunchtime. all of a sudden just under the when no one's really paying attention, Rager's just on like the Houston Texans for a 7th. It's got that written all over it, right?
Yeah, to who? Somebody who liked them.
Yeah, but like a shitty team like the Texans or the Jets, just a team that like who even cares, or maybe even a good team. I don't know if you could risk that because you don't ever want him to have a moment. You put him somewhere where no one's even watching. To me, the Jags, Texans, Lions, something like we'll just give them to you guys.
See, I don't think does Howie care about that shit.
Who just got picked?
Trevor Penning, John. The Saints just drafted. This is what happens this time of the draft. You start to lose the play-by-play, which is fine. But this is New Orleans at 19, the pick that they swapped with Philadelphia originally.
So
Pittsburgh is on the clock. We have not had a quarterback drafted yet. Kenny Pickett.
I told you. I think there is a chance. Why do they have to draft a quarterback here? Just because people want them to?
You don't.
Couldn't they take McDuffie?
Kevin Colbert's last draft. I mean, they just traded picks for a corner a couple years ago, right?
Where are the Patriots? 21?
Patriots are 21. Devin Lloyd. Actually, Pittsburgh could take Devin Lloyd.
Who's 22?
Green Bay, who you got to think, who's the best receiver left for them?
Kind of screwed.
Jalen Reagor?
Kind of screwed. Do they have we wake up in the morning and the Green Bay Packers have signed Jarvis Landry written all over them?
Or Julio?
Both of them, maybe. The Green Bay Packers have signed Julio Jones and Jarvis Landry to multi-year contracts.
Yeah, man. God. Do they trade back? Do they take George Pickens? He's been in some fights.
First round.
Let's get him here with Aaron. We just need them. Who's the most talented receiver we can give Aaron?
That's A.J. Brown out of nowhere.
Wow.
If Deebo really wants a trade, he's got to be pissed.
Same agent. You think Deebo's blowing up the agent right now?
Are we sure Deebo didn't just go rogue? Hey, Deebo, I told you to be quiet.
Somebody on Twitter just tweeted at me, Niners should have just traded for AJ. $57 million guaranteed is nothing.
Agreed. The problem is they didn't have the 18th pick, right?
Yeah, they don't have a first rounder.
What if the Niners would have? I just
three. No,
I do think that his value. It's weird. I think AJ's value is just higher.
I think he's more useful to more people. But Deebo could be more useful to the 49ers than the Niners might prefer Deebo to AJ Brown.
Yeah. Honestly, the Eagles, they'll play a little like the Niners. I mean, they have a running quarterback, right? It's not like they're throwing bombs, throwing elite routes. I mean, they're doing a lot of weird shit.
Did the agent use Deebo to distract people from AJ Brown? Float to some reporter Eagles might be interested in Deebo and just leave AJ kind of.
What would we set if Deebo got the 4-year $100 million deal, 25 a year, 50 that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I think everyone would go, you just got $57 million guaranteed and you're probably going to make $100 million and you're going to be a free agent at 30 again.
Yeah, and your APY is what you wanted to feel good about it.
According to Instagram likes. I'm just telling you, Kenny Pickett to the Steelers has been in every mock draft I've looked at. Kevin Colbert's farewell.
Feels too good to be true.
He could take Trubisky's job by week 6.
God, Trubisky stinks.
Wow. This has been a good draft. This has been a good night so far. It's a good draft.
Kenny Pickett got picked? Wow.
Is that true?
Yeah.
The pick is in. Kenny Pickett. First quarterback off the board.
Share a stadium. Share a locker room.
Yeah, I mean, I hate that stuff, but I hate drafting. I think the Steelers are a better organization than the organization that would draft a guy only because he's a hometown guy.
No, I just mean you get to know, especially with quarterbacks, a guy really well.
In what ways do you think?
they literally play at the stadium, so you just you get pretty unique access to like maybe meeting the guy, and like really you could have like some pretty special meetings throughout the year, like with your offensive like, hey Kenny, maybe Pittsburgh's by, come hang out with the offensive coordinator for come watch practice. Do you could just do some things like really get to know the guy, which is very, very important.
No, you know how he plays in your weather?
That's a huge thing in the AFC North.
Small hands, but
he is a 1-year wonder, very small hands. You know what they say about people with small hands and small feet? Big penis. I don't know if he has small feet. Remember Johnny Manziel was short, but he had like size 15 shoes?
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by those guys. Like a guy that's like 5'11", but he's got 16s. You don't often hear about like the guy that's 6'7", who's got like size 9 shoes. Have you ever heard of a guy like that?
There was somebody who had small feet. I think it was a basketball player, a tall guy with small feet. I remember,
like how small? Like 12s?
No, I don't know, just small for his body size, not 9s.
Yeah,
but like couldn't keep his balance. Like wasn't very. All right. So Franco Harris is up there. All right, we're waiting on that. New England is up next.
Kind of getting hungry.
Baltimore, you want to go grab something?
You already eat dinner? You think about riding this?
I had that smoothie earlier.
You think about riding this thing home?
I kind of am because it's been good. But if you want to,
when do the Chiefs pick?
Chiefs have 29 and 30, so they can move up at any moment.
Not for a while,
but they can move up, don't you think?
Who's 23?
So here's who we're waiting on. Pittsburgh's making its pick right now. New England's at 21.
Okay.
Green Bay, Arizona gave that pick to Baltimore. Dallas, Buffalo, Tennessee. That must be Philly. Tennessee has its own pick. Sorry. Tampa 27. Tom Brady still plays for them. Green Bay.
Who's 24's Dallas? Who's 25?
Buffalo.
Okay. Who's 26?
Tennessee. Actually, what am I doing here? Let me work with my visual.
Also, Tennessee, they actually, obviously they gave up A.J. Brown, but they still have their own first-round pick.
Right. They have 27. Then Green Bay has 28. Kansas City has the pick from the Niners at 29. Then Kansas City has 30.
Let's grab a water.
Yeah, go to we're good. 31 is Cincinnati, and then 32 is Detroit's pick from the Rams. The Jared Goff trade. Kwame Brown, was it Kwame that had small feet for a big guy? Let's do a little Google here. Hands of a Dwarf. This 2004. I don't know if you can write this headline anymore. That's not good. Body of a giant, hand of a dwarf. I don't think you can say that. 04 article about Kwame. Then there's a YouTube from 2021. Kwame on his small hands. Huh. How about that? Check out this headline I found, John, from somebody in the chat said Kwame Brown. Here's a headline from 2004. Body of a giant, hands of a dwarf. And then I found a YouTube from 01 of him defending his hands or something. I don't know. So maybe that's who I was thinking of.
You know what snack never disappoints is just a wheat
beef jerky.
Salami.
Oh.
Wheat thin and a salami. And Swiss cheese.
I think I could eat 2 boxes of wheat thins without blinking. I think I do 2 boxes.
Chips, guacamole. I mean, there's just some staple snacks.
You go some cheese and crackers, and I could go on autopilot for an hour and a half, I think. Just eating. Somebody might try and force some apple slices in there, and I'd accept them, but I wouldn't want them.
That was what Deebo did the other night. He was saying, he was like eating a meal. He's like, when you're eating a meal, it's actually, again, he's a great energy guy. He's like, and you just want some juice with your meal, but you go in the fridge, you don't all you got is water, you don't really want water. What he does is he like eats his cheeseburger or whatever he's eating, and he says, I just take grapes. I just eat my grapes. That's the sugar.
Grapes are good with a sandwich. That would not satisfy me if I wanted juice, but salami and peanut butter is a good snack, says Tony. Chiefs traded up. Chiefs are on the clock. Did they just do a trade with New England? The Chiefs and the Patriots just did a trade.
Andy and Bill traded every year for 2 decades. Not like usually it's like they fuck around trades. This is a real trade.
Okay, so that means that New England now has 29 or 30.
Whichever. I could see the Chiefs taking the.
New England has 29, so the Chiefs still have their second one. Sorry, go ahead.
McDuffie,
cornerback. Let's see.
Because remember, once upon a time they took Marcus Peters from Washington. They just lost Ward.
Yep.
They're going to need a corner. Their defense. What wide receiver are they going to take here?
Kind of disappointing if they don't take a first-round receiver. I was all amped up for them to.
But they got another pick, though.
I know. I was just amped up for them to take Tyreek with some guy that's going to score 12 touchdowns for him. DEEBO'S always eating. Somebody in the chat says. Damn it.
He eats a lot. I mean, and listen, I like to eat too, but DEEBO is an eater. Whenever you have, I think you're allowed like guard, D tackle, like Jordan Davis his whole life. Like, how's his weight? Right? Receivers, like, how often does it ever come up with like most of the receivers that are good? Has anyone be like Tyreek? He's kind of chubby. Never happened. Devontae. No one's ever been like, see, Keenan Allen, he's putting on some weight. Like, it is a little concerning. I would say the one eating position is running back. And what's he viewed at? Kind of like a running back. Like running backs are actually, in a weird way in the hierarchy, are actually closer to linemen that way. They like to eat. Zeke. DEEBO just...
For the most part, whatever. I mean, a little extra weight, just running through people. You're not running away from people necessarily, right?
But DEEBO's got to run away from all these guys that run 4.4.
That's what I'm saying. DEEBO, it's a prominent receiver. Patriots traded 21 for 29, 94, and 121.
That's a nice little haul.
It is. Thank you, G, on the chat.
They got to love someone here. Could they take the pass rusher from Florida State gone yet?
No.
Even though to me, he's a guy everyone keeps talking about. Do you even recognize his name till the draft process?
No, I didn't. And I saw some people saying he's a second-round pick. But Jermaine Johnson
is who they just took?
No, that's the guy we're talking about. Filio on the stream says, breaking news, Jimmy G traded to nobody for nothing.
True. Very, very true.
All right, Chiefs pick is in. You're going corner.
I'm right.
Trent McDuffie.
Doesn't that feel like a solid selection? Brewer just tweeted Trent McDuffie.
That feels like a really solid selection. Yes, it does. I like that pick. Cold play. Yeah, I like that pick a lot. High level guy.
You're just starting to pivot to just get a really good player. They did sign some wide receivers. Like I think people think they're a little more desperate for wide receivers than they view it. Like part of it is like we pay our quarterback $50 million a year to make. We'll take a guy in the third round. You'll realize who he is about week 4.
Oh, here's some film of McDuffie locking down Oregon State. Ball skills. Come back to the ball, John.
McDuffie tall?
Now 5'11" and a half, maybe.
Well, wasn't Mark Peters.
Yeah, but not like your 6'2" Utah guys. Utah guys tend to be.
Oh, and he'll play the run. The Davis Mills. Scoop and score. Stanford, not great team speed.
I love the family reaction shots.
How many kids does McDuffie have?
There's a lot of McDuffies. Look, the baby on the left is screaming, crying. NFL Network is what we're watching.
Well, if you're McDuffie,
screaming, crying,
and you think you're going to go somewhere between like 12 and 25, kind of that range, you end up on the Chiefs with Mahomes. How awesome is that?
Yeah, pretty great.
Like, how sweet's his family? Like, we get to go watch Mahomes. We're going season tickets, baby. Mahomes. You see his dad. He's like, Mahomes.
His wiki is already updated
to what?
Color coded and everything. Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, there is a whole like swatch of society that is updating Wikipedias. Blows my mind.
Packers picks in. I saw something with not the podcast for it, but something on Hunter Biden got removed. So it's like, who actually is running it? I don't know. I thought it was the people run it, right?
Yeah, like you can just update it.
But can you? Like if I just updated a page and I was completely wrong.
I did it as a practical joke. It went pretty well once.
It lasted
like I think it lasted till the person saw it and took it down like 6 months later. I've tried it with fake stuff and it's gotten taken down immediately.
Yeah, like George Clooney, you couldn't do something and have it stick, right?
Yeah, even I did it. Yeah, I don't think it's a story that anyone would be interested in, but I did it and it worked, and it was.
Who'd you do it on?
Well, I'll tell you. So I'll do the quick version. So my buddy Aaron Goldsmith, who's the Mariners broadcaster, I put on his wiki that he had like a catchphrase. I don't even remember what I wrote, but something silly. Oh, I just think he called a guy nicknamed Sugar. It's a long story, but I said that was his catchphrase, nicknamed Sugar. 6 months later, he's doing like a pregame interview on LA radio with Rob. Who's the guy from the dating show? Remember him?
Rob Parker?
No, not Rob Parker. He does like the Angels pre and post game show.
No clue.
If I said his name, Angels dating show. Anyway, he goes on this radio show and they're like, "Oh, tell us about your catchphrase." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And the guy obviously was reading his wiki. So not hilarious, but just a little subtle thing. He didn't know where it came from. Blind date. What's the guy's name? Roger Lodge. Anyway. But
Roger Rob, same thing.
Yeah, not far off. Anyway, there's your story.
Samson, Swanson.
But Wiki has Samson. I was way off. But Wiki has like somebody's paying attention. I don't know who. St. John Bosco, by the way, John.
Is where McDuffie, he's a LA kid?
Southern California, yep, LA. All right, Packers pick is in.
What's the percentage chance Roger staying in the suite?
Goodell?
Yeah.
At the Maloofs? The Palms? Still there? Quay Walker, linebacker.
Who?
Georgia. That was the pick. That was their Devontae pick right there. That Quay Walker. That was the Raiders pick. 23.
So the Raiders just picked Quay Walker. He's going to play for the Packers though.
Yeah, because the Packers still have 28.
I'm telling you, that is the easiest trade in the history of the NFL. You could add Quay Walker or fucking Devontae Adams. 23 for Devontae Adams. Think about it, guy. It took to get AJ Brown. It took 18. His career high in catches is 70. I'm an AJ Brown guy, but the Raiders got Devontae Adams for pick 22. I know they gave him second, but pick 22. That's the reason they got him. That's crazy. Hell, even the Ravens got pick 23 because of Hollywood. I mean, I'm going to have to let this marinate. We got a lot. It doesn't quite add up. I mean, Titans, a lot of pressure on the Burks guy. I will say that. If Burks was going to end up replacing Deebo or AJ Brown, everyone blew him and hyped him up. Like it's like, okay.
Well, he would have been better off. He would have been better off if the Niners had traded Deebo and drafted him than going to the Titans. I feel confident saying that.
I'd argue, guy, he would have been better off just being like if the football team would have taken him at 16, or he can just be
or the Eagle. Yeah. Well, I agree with that.
The pressure, the Titans have been a powerhouse. Like, I know we don't view them as like,
it's true.
They have been winning 11, 12 games. They were just the number one seed, and this guy was their best player, and now he's replacing him.
One thing you would say for Deebo is, did here's what you don't want in a trade. You don't want the other team or the other side, right? In this case, the Niners. Here's what we know the Niners would not want is to show that you can push them around.
No.
And so, like, by never going public with the Titans, there's nobody out there right now that's like, the Titans just showed they're weak. All you have to do is demand a trade from Tennessee, and they will back down. By saying publicly, I'm going to get traded, and then, like, pumping it up and just saying stuff, the Niners then are kind of in a position where they're like, we can't let a player show who's under contract, who we want to pay, that all you have to do is kind of drag us a little bit on Twitter and we'll capitulate and trade you because we don't want the trouble. That's where you could argue Deebo. Did Deebo prevent the trade by going public? Now, I all that said, I would say no. I think the Niners like him more than Tennessee liked A.J. Brown, but it's what you got to wonder. His agent, they just did it two different ways, and the guy that didn't say anything got traded. Vrabel's never had a losing record.
Winner. I do think they're a Belichick Patriot guy. They view team building. Would they have traded A.J. Brown if Mike Vrabel was, I know this guy, it's going to sound weird, but like Tom Brady? Like he was, instead of being a linebacker, he was the offensive coordinator / former quarterback.
And to that point, maybe A.J. Brown could have gone public just like Deebo did, and they wouldn't have cared. They're like, whatever, we don't care. We see value. We'll move on. We'll get somebody else.
Think how much closer Kyle is to Deebo than Vrabel is just to A.J., right?
That's what I'm saying. Like, so much. Yeah. Yes. Okay, so we have a trade here.
Bills.
So the Bills have just traded with Baltimore. So Baltimore now goes to 25. And the Bills come up. This is originally Arizona's pick from the Hollywood Brown trade. Okay.
Can I make a... I might have to just make a video for Brittany really quick.
Yep.
Social media manager.
Go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Do you want me to remove you from this? You don't have to.
No, I'll just...
Still there. John, you're still there. You're just not there. So you're good. Okay, so Buffalo's now on the clock. Right? Dallas is then up next at 24. And then Baltimore is here at 25. Got it. Tennessee's still there at 26. So there's the board updated, except I've got to move Kansas City. This is now New England. So New England actually now has the pick that belonged to San Francisco. A 38 ballpoint pen on my board. This is not my normal pen. But my other pen's over there. My go-to pen is over there. Thank you. It is high tech. The other side of it is my Stanford spring game. Sheetrock board. That's right. Here's a top 15 quarterback next year, by the way. Potentially. Tanner McKee. John will be right back. So there we go. That's that. Put that nearby. Oh, did Baltimore go further back? Tim Russer. Baltimore moved further back. Where did they go? Buffalo's at 25. So if Baltimore and Buffalo did a deal, how far back did Baltimore go? I guess I'm supposed to be the one with the information, but this is why we love the chat. Appreciate you guys. Where's my draft tracker here? Let me make a note also for later. Yep, got you. Baltimore.
Got to be a good teammate.
Yeah, Baltimore's at 25. Baltimore's at 25, but somebody said, okay, so we're good. All right.
I think Baltimore and Buffalo flip-flopped, right?
Yeah. Yep. 23 to 25 is the little swap there.
So basically, the Ravens with Hollywood Brown end up getting pick 23, but then just probably added, I would imagine, like a fourth or something, and just moved down a couple spots. Nice little move there by the Ravens.
Yes, correct. And the Bills just took Kyer Elam, cornerback from Florida.
Who did?
That was Buffalo who just made that pick. Buffalo just took a corner.
Would you agree it's pretty clear this group of guys, these names we're hearing now, I mean, aren't
well?
The star nature of this whole group is
how many first rounders are there with first round grades in a given year? You would know generally the numbers like 18 to 23.
I've seen a lot of people tweeting, like the Brewers talking to teams had like 14 to 15 in this class.
In this class, right? But would you agree that like on average it's like 18 to 23 is what? That's just the name.
Yeah. Schneider has always said like 10.
What should Jerry Jones do at 24? Well, it depends. Is it Jerry picking or is it Taco? That was Steven, but I was. Who did he say he was?
He took Micah Parsons.
I took Micah Parsons. Yeah.
Doesn't feel like Mike McCarthy's like
Mike. Always feels like he's just like visiting his his like meaner grandparents when I see him with Jerry in public. Do
you know what he feels like? If you could make Jerry back to like 50 years old and Mike like 18 years old, like a young high school kid who just got in trouble from his parents, but instead Mike's 50 and Jerry's 78. But that's the body language of a dad who's really mad, and I don't even know. Really, Steven's just loves. Steven always feels like he's in a good vibe, doesn't he? Like, do you ever feel like Steven's
Steven is not getting disciplined by anybody. No. Feels like Mike is told you can come to dinner. Like, you're coming to the adults dinner with us, but you don't speak at dinner with the adults.
Would you imagine Steven's house is that much smaller than Jerry's?
No, might be bigger.
I could see Steven's house being big.
So, look, I think they need offense, Dallas. They've lost a lot, right? They lost 2 receivers, and they have a third receiver who's hurt. So, but I don't. What do you do here? Is it a?
How does Jerry have better hair than Steven? Look at how Steven is happy. I feel like Mike always feels like Jerry could fire me at any moment.
Yes. That's the other thing, John. So this team had one of the best offenses in the NFL. They just lost 2 receivers and a third guy's hurt. They have to draft offense here. Don't they?
Could go offensive line. They've lost a lot of offensive line.
That's true. They could go offensive line.
They just had a corner who was riding passenger for a person that killed someone who was a second-round pick last year. Cowboys always have weird shit happen to them, don't they?
Yeah, but they're always, it's like they'll go get La'el Collins. Like they're in the middle of it too.
Yeah, no, they're part of it. But if you just said like, hey, there's a second-round corner from a year ago who was a passenger for a driver who shot and killed someone. No one knew who it was for a month. What team did he play for? The Cowboys would be a top 5 pick.
Right? Cowboys?
Raiders?
Yeah, they're kidding. It's not funny.
I mean, Raiders would be a lot of people's pick.
I know. It would be funnier if it like something similar hadn't actually happened. I guess it'd be funny. I'm not making a joke there.
A little different. I mean, you guys shot and killed someone.
David on the stream. Thank you, David. Says live draft party stream next year with the crowd at Bulls Tavern and Slow. A couple Bull Sweats, maybe some sponsored Tito's. Remind me what the Bull Sweat is, other than
it's just immediate throw up. I mean, it's basically like Worcestershire sauce, Tabasco sauce.
How do you say that word? Is it Worcester?
Whatever it is, it's tastes awful by itself with whiskey, vodka, again, hot sauce. I think like pepper. I mean, it's just. It'd be one of those like, hey, we got a terrorist in the other room locked up. We need information. We only have these 7 ingredients. Do you think this will get him to talk? You'd be like, it might. I remember taking it and running outside and throwing up.
Oh, really? It was that bad?
It's like it's the thing you're supposed to take on your birthday.
Gotcha.
When you turn 21. I think that's the only time anyone ever works.
Worcester. I've got 2 different pronunciations. Worcester and Worcestershire.
What is it? Steak sauce? Is that what it's for?
That's what I thought. Yeah. So isn't that what like A1? Isn't that what that is?
No, but it's not. I mean, it's
different.
I could take a shot at A1. A1's closer to barbecue sauce, I feel like.
Worcester. Worcestershire.
Do you like horseradish?
No, I hate it. Despise it. Nothing worse than seeing like fried chicken sandwich, horseradish, menu, no substitutes. Like, oh, okay.
Well, I hate people that do the horseradish like on their prime rib. It's like, who likes
No, thank you. Yeah, I hate it.
I think people put the horseradish. You ever had a Bloody Mary?
Yeah, but I don't like it.
They disgust.
Also, like martini extra dirty. I think we've talked about that. All right. So people are suggesting maybe Seattle moves back into the first round to take a quarterback. Who are we waiting on here? Tennessee, Baltimore. Oh, Dallas. I'm skipping ahead. Could they stretch and just take a receiver?
Cowboys took a lineman. Tyler Smith, Tulsa.
All right.
Seems bold.
Make a note.
Never heard of him.
Solid.
The pick in the mid-20s is when some like random linemen start getting picked.
Coastal Elite, they are Coastal Elites. They only drink gin. You know, I haven't had a lot of gin. I've had it like in mixed drinks, but I was talking to somebody when we were at 1515, one of the other alcohol people there, and she was explaining to me that gin is like it's very floral, I guess, and can be. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of people don't like gin.
Unique taste. I'm not a huge fan.
I don't have any gin.
Gin and tonics actually aren't bad, but the problem is, as you get older and you like counting calories, you realize tonic water is terrible. Might as well just have a soda. Then you start drinking soda water.
7 and 7. That was mine for a while.
7 and 7s are actually pretty good though.
Yeah, but they're also very. I mean, it's 7 Up actually is
not terrible for you.
Yeah, on the scale.
I feel like do sick kids drink 7 Up? Because when I was sick as a kid, that's all my parents threw down my throat.
You get sick, the one saving grace was bottle of soda was showing up in the house immediately. Even like my house would be like, here's some like Coke. It would be Coca-Cola, like the liter too. Do people even buy the liter anymore?
No, I mean, I'm telling you, like you were sick in like 94, 92, 96. It was just soda. It's like, you just take some Tylenol PM and this enormous bottle of 7 Up down this. You're like, okay. See, I will be at school in 3 days. And think about back then, just no one heard from you. Like, John's sick. No one can communicate with you. Maybe they could call the house line, but it was no instant messenger. There was no text. It was just gone. Like, where's Ryan? Where's Billy? Where's Julie? You just might not see him for like 4 days. Turns out they got mononucleosis or they got chickenpox or whatever. You would know within like 5 hours, right?
You found out when you went to their house to like knock on the door, like play some video games.
Or when they just showed back up to school like 4 days later. You're like, where have you been? You're like, I've been sick, man. I've just been watching Price is Right and slamming 7 Up. What have you guys been doing in class? Nothing. Screwing around. Like, cool, I'm back. I think about that sometimes, the farther you're removed, just how it is being a kid just going to school. You just sit there. And then the older you get, you start, for a long time, you just sit at one class. And then once you get to like junior high, you start going class to class. It's kind of a crazy little life. You're just trying to find your way. You meet some buddies and you make it to, you're just hoping for either recess or lunch, or
you're just putting off your homework as long as possible, lying to your parents about it.
Yeah. I don't think unless
chemistry project. You remember like doing like presentations on like trifolds, it's like, this is the arc of the moon.
I think I would have valued practices more, like sport practices with my buddies more than I did.
Well, to me, a crisp like Saturday morning always just feels like we're playing 2 baseball games today, baby. Like we got a 8:30 a.m. soccer game today. God forbid.
But I complained about them. Like, I don't really want to do it.
Oh, really?
What else was I doing? Not complained, but I don't know if I was like super happy always.
I got grounded and had to miss a basketball game once in 7th grade, and I thought it was over. Like I was devastated.
Yeah, it sucked when you had to miss it. When you get in trouble, you're not going to the game. You're like, what?
Flipped my mom off.
How'd she respond?
Not well.
Double bird or just one finger?
Single.
I
remember.
Across the room?
We just gotten out of the car in the garage. This is 6th grade.
She dropped a, "You're not going to the game tomorrow."
No. I don't know. I don't know what the middle finger was for, but I know what the punishment was.
Oh, you're saying the middle finger came before?
Yeah, the middle. I don't even know what that argument was about, but I just know no TV, and I missed my basketball game, and I was devastated.
That's what I'm saying. I did value the games. I just don't think the practices. I just would have valued it all. Just the whole thing. Like, you just get to do nothing. Just out here playing catch at like 3:00 in the afternoon on Tuesday.
Absolutely.
And then like 2 hours, someone's going to pick you up, take you home, and have food on a table sitting there waiting for you. It's like, life's pretty good. And you just get to go to your own room. You don't have to pay for anything.
The worst part was like, did you brush your teeth? That was like one of the responsibilities that you had, that you,
100%.
I would,
like, you'd get knocked down, drag out.
Toothbrush on my arm.
All the sweet shit they provide. Like, all we ask you to do is take out the trash, which is like 7 steps. You like go outside, you grab the thing, you take it down to the driveway. It couldn't be an easier, like, actual action, but you just fight it. You're like, I'll do it. I'll do it when I'm ready. Right there.
Mowed the lawn for $2 a week.
See, I mean, nowadays you might go on Twitter like your parents are taking advantage of you.
I would unionize, maybe.
Yeah, the going rate's like $19.99, whatever.
All right, Ravens are on the clock. So this is pick 25. Who's interesting coming up here? Tampa feels like they'll do something.
Feels like it's out of juice, doesn't it?
Devin Lloyd still hasn't been drafted. I wonder if Tennessee will get him at 29. I mean, New England will get him at 29.
What was his problem? He ran slow?
Yeah. Did he run?
I thought he ran slow at the combine.
Yeah, you're right. He actually was a combine stock dropper.
You see the pictures? I mean, what's the average age of the Ravens draft room here? About 26? A lot of bald guys in there, too.
There were a couple shiny domes.
NFL Network paying Shaw for this, or would he do this for free?
I would think they're paying him. Everyone else up there's getting paid, it's just business.
Pay him to fly out, give him $15,000 for the whatever.
Yeah, day rate, sure. Maybe they might pay him more.
What would you guess his rate is?
That's a great question. I mean, I think this is NFL Network.
He's not really he doesn't need the money, so it's not really.
But he has to prep for it. If you told me he got for this right here, because I'll tell you what, dude, like some of these guys go talk to a corporation for $50K. And that takes way less prep than this. Like he's been watching film for 3 weeks.
Yeah, I was gonna say 25, but even that feels a little low, doesn't it?
Yeah, my gut was gonna be like 75 or 100. Because again, he could go talk to Coors Brewing. What would they pay him? I bet they'd pay him no less than $40,000.
About leadership and running men and inspiring. And
I'm pretty sure the radio station I worked at in Fresno in like 2000 and I don't even know what year it was, like 7, it would have been like 2008, 2009. They had like an award ceremony. I'm pretty sure they paid Dan Patrick $40,000 to come host it. Come spend one night in Fresno. Maybe 2. I got to eat sushi with Dan, sat right next to him. He was super cool.
In 07.
And yeah, maybe it was like 08, 09, something like that. Not 07, probably like 08, 09.
He was really famous at the time.
Super famous. Coward came out and did it. I don't know what they paid him.
Didn't Colin have a little fun in Fresno?
Yeah.
Pacheco was like, give him credit. He was going after the big dogs, huh? They did not have to do it, right?
And he was an ESPN affiliate, so you get a little. You can at least have access to the person to like talk to him.
So do you think that a huge part of those guys, like, were those guys doing a lot of side gigs on shit like that, like making easy 20, 30 grand?
I mean, Dan clearly was. Yeah, they had to be. But I mean, again, he got 40,000, and what I heard, maybe his rate was 40, and he gave him a discount for like 25 or something. But yeah, anyway,
what did Dan do? Host it?
Yeah, he hosted the Central Valley ESPY Awards. Tyler Linderbaum goes to the Ravens.
Would you say Dan was high effort that night?
Yeah, Dan was good.
He tried. He didn't mail it in.
Yeah, Dan was funny.
What'd Colin do?
I think I missed his. No, I was there actually for that one.
Similar thing, like hosted something?
Yeah, Central Valley ESPY Awards. It was the ESPY Awards for the Central Valley. Male athlete of the year, female athlete of the year, team of the year. It was the ESPY Awards.
Who would win Central Valley Athlete of the Year typically?
Like some runner from Bullard or some quarterback from Kingsburg.
Oh, it would be a high school kid.
Yeah, it was high school awards. Central Valley. So the Central Valley of California ESPY Awards. I mean, we probably did like professional sports team of the year, but like the Giants. Like, yeah, congratulations. I don't know, but
that's pretty sweet. If you're a high school kid, Dan Patrick was hosting the event.
He had it in a huge theater on a big stage. It was an incredible production. I think it only lasted like 3 years. It was a very expensive production too, and it was a really cool event.
How much do you think he was spending on that? Like $100,000?
Yeah, maybe more. Probably. So Linderbaum, somebody who all the Niners wanted in like Niner fans wanted in like the 3rd round, goes here at the 25 to the Ravens. Maybe 61 people.
So who did the Ravens end up with here? Kyle Hamilton and Linderbaum? It feels very Raven-y, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yep. Started 35 the Iowa guy. We could start going with tipped picks at this point, I think.
I mean, we've been on for 3 hours.
Yeah. Kind of hungry.
I mean, just
no. I'm with you. We don't. The people aren't waiting to see if
something crazy happens.
We can always reappear. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll be back on Friday. Niners aren't going to get Linderbaum. We know that. I guess they didn't fool anybody with the Alex Mack.
We can wait. Oh. The Jets just traded.
Ooh. So what did the Jets just trade?
Well, probably one of those 2 picks, right? I'd say the Jets are out of the Deebo Samuel.
Because they just traded one of their early second rounders. Which is they had 35 and 38. So they trade one of those. They just traded 35. So they just traded the better of their seconds. So they're going to have 3 first-round picks.
Do you want to do something specifically on Deebo that you can cut and put it on the tube? Because I do have a take right now on it.
Okay. Let's see who this Jets pick is. Or you're saying you want to do it right here?
No, we can wait till the Jets make the pick.
The Jets are going to have 3 first-round picks.
So who did the Jets get? They got
Sauce.
Garrett Wilson.
Yep.
I could see them taking the Florida State pass rusher. Or, I mean, a pass. They need a pass. Could they take Devin Lloyd here? He's just a solid player. I mean, I can see Joe Douglas liking Devin Lloyd. Joe Douglas is a Raven, tough. You know, he's like, ugh.
They could like. Do you think they'd like him more than they like the linebacker from Georgia, Nakobe Dean?
Well, he's just so tiny. Yeah, I could see him liking one of those. They're going to want like a tough hitter. That's just like when I think Joe Douglas, like, ugh.
Yeah.
And he's kind of went. And think Saleh. They're just going to want some guys hitting some people. I bet Saleh probably like Reuben Foster when they pulled the trigger, right? He was probably like that guy's play style. He learned from Pete Carroll, who like crazy ass people.
David, thank you. At one time, Fresno State had 3 top paid players in all major sports: Derek Carr, Paul George, and Aaron Judge. Decent sports in the Valley. You're goddamn right.
Has Aaron Judge ever been a top paid guy?
I don't know, but it sounds good. Let's roll with it.
It does sound sweet. I saw some picture the other day of Aaron Rodgers, Paul George, and like Aaron Donald on a basketball court in LA.
Yeah, Aaron Judge turned down a contract.
Yeah.
So what's Aaron Judge making? That can't be true. But you gave us $5.
It did sound sweet though. Who's the best out of that group? Paul George's a better NBA player than Derek Carr as a quarterback, right?
I mean, Paul George has been a top 10 player, right? At his best. Would you say he was a top 10 player in the league?
He's a 7-time NBA All-Star.
Where nobody makes the All-Star team. So, yeah.
He's a 5-time All-NBA player. 3rd team, but he's a 4-time all defensive NBA, twice first team, twice second team. I think Paul's like a no doubt about it max guy. Now he's a 2. It's weird because quarterbacks, it's hard to kind of do it. Is Paul the best number 2? They took the edge rusher.
Jermaine Johnson. Wow. Okay. Deebo, as we wind towards the end of the first round of the draft.
Well, it's been the biggest story going, I would say, in the NFL for the last 7 to 10. Whenever Jeff Darlington really put it out there and there was clearly substance behind it, that Deebo Samuel was going to get traded or wanted to trade. And the 49ers did not create it. So it's, even though it's taken on a light that the 49ers, it was like a two-way street. Once he's trying to force their hand, obviously the moment Jeff Darlington's tweet went viral, as it should have, one of the best players in the NFL says, I want a trade away from a team that had just won 4 playoff games in the last 3 years. It was a big deal. So the 49ers phone started blowing up. And once that happens, you have to start like, well, who would they trade him to? Who would want him? Obviously, their phone, like I would imagine, like with legitimate offers, 15 teams in the NFL sniffing around, making offers. They might not be good, but like, hey, we'll give you 3 second-round picks for him, whatever, for Deebo Samuel. So the Niners are just getting a lot of information, even though they're not that interested. You got to write it on the board, and we've been doing it. But I think you saw with A.J. Brown got traded, like, pretty clear, maybe the money and maybe they just know like his injury. Maybe they just, I don't know, whatever, however they played it out, their mindset, and you've talked about this earlier on the draft, was way different than the 49ers. But I also think it's been a little unfair, and I'm very guilty of this, to just assume the Niners, like just because you offer me something, and I'm not saying Deebo's Steph Curry or Mike Trout or something, but to the Niners, he's very, very important. Very important. And clearly one thing they are good at is understanding money and numbers. They have a pretty good idea then that the going rate is $457. They never thought it was 75. Now maybe Deebo does, but it's not now Deebo. It's $4 for 57 and 100, which I think they would gladly pay him. So now the Jets have blown their load. The Niners cannot trade Deebo Samuel for any picks in the second. And if, as you and I are talking here on Thursday night, if they did it, people would fucking be furious. And I don't think they would, because if they would have done it tonight. That like this whole saga was kind of Deebo created, and he kind of looks like an idiot. Like
the guy that didn't create any noise got traded. The guy that made it easy on his team, helped his team by not making any noise.
Who was represented by the same human being.
Represented by the same guy. They got Treylon Burks, the Titans, who
like just made an easy business would have been a good Deebo for everyone involved, right?
Felt professional. You never want your team to feel like they're going to look weak by trading you, which is the position that Deebo put the 49ers in. He put them in a position where it would look like he won and they lost if they had traded him. That is not the way we're looking at Tennessee right now, right?
They were proactive, right? I look at Tennessee like they were cool with trading him, right?
Yeah, and we know the Niners aren't cool, and I think part of it is the Niners love Deebo, but part of it is you can't put us in a position to look weak if we give you what you want. It's not a great way to get what you want. If the person who you need their help and they have you under contract, so you need their help. If they're going to look bad by trading you, then it doesn't help them trade you.
Well, I think this goes back to a couple of days ago when John sat in front of 7,000 people on YouTube and 18 reporters or whatever. He was uncomfortable because deep down he couldn't say, this is bullshit. He's one of the best draft picks we've made. We love him. We have been singing his praises for the last 12 months about, specifically this year, about his will in carrying us. He stands for everything we want. And then for him to do this, like part of this group, and it sounds cheesy sometimes, but it is true. Like, we have a unique bond inside these walls while we have a public job, but we get to fight and do things. And the best organizations, it does not come out. Like part of the crazy thing about listening to that Patriot book is like, no one really knew a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, that they were choosing between Johnny Manziel and Jimmy Garoppolo. Right?
Just all the stories over the years. It's like 20 years of the best of the number one organization in the league. Like 90% of it didn't come out until there was a divorce. And John's like, not only do we not want a divorce, if you have a problem with any of us, we have spent the last 3 years together through good and the bad. And we've had, in Deebo's case, a lot more good. 2 of his 3 years in the NFL, he has won 4 playoff games, been to a Super Bowl, and we were winning in an NFC championship game with a chance to go back to another one in the fourth quarter. So it's like, Deebo, you come from South Carolina. We watch. You guys fucking sucked. Your life has been good here. People get pissed off. People have issues. It's life. Come to us. Call Kyle. Call us. What are you doing? Like, kind of a slappy move by Deebo. And listen, young people make dumb decisions. And I'm not saying he's changed. He might still want to trade, but like, you lost, buddy.
Well, you wonder also, traded. Was this not the agent's tactic? Because the agent represented A.J. Brown, and A.J. didn't use that tactic.
What about DK? DK walked into Seattle last week with a smoothie.
A.J. did do the IG delete, but the tactic failed.
Maybe he knew he was going to Philly.
Could have known. The tactic failed. Maybe Tennessee told him right away, okay, we'll trade you. Just keep it quiet. Right? That might have been what happened.
If it comes out, it's off. You don't say a word, and we'll take care of it. But here's my question. Unless Deebo's completely out of the loop, I don't know, he's going to be paying his agent a lot of money if he signs a $450,700. Does his agent keeping him in the loop on what's going on with his other client? Because if I'm Deebo, and I would want, like, again, I'm assuming a lot with a 25-year-old guy. I don't know if I'd think like this when I was 25. But this whole thing, I would say, looks like not an embarrassment on the 49ers stand. It makes him and just his side look really bad. And honestly, Deebo's the one that put his name to it, so it makes Deebo look terrible. Yeah. For a guy that everyone likes, good energy. Even if you wanted, I have no problem if you want to trade, but he handled it completely wrong.
Well, and it's not over because now they've called his bluff. So what's he going to do? Show up? You show up, either you show up and act bad or you show up and issue some apologies.
So he's going to start saying no guy to 57 and 100 and probably a $28 million signing bonus?
Well, I do think we talked about this. The guy that signed first would not be the guy that got the most money. So Deebo's probably going to get, I think maybe Deebo gets 60. Maybe
and 60. Deebo could say, like, look at his numbers and look at my 1 year. I carried us.
Yeah. Hey, here's the difference, guys. Tennessee didn't want him. You guys want me.
Okay, so let's say he gets 159.5 or something, right?
4 for 159.5 guaranteed. Okay.
Or 58.5, just a little more.
Yeah.
He's gonna like, hey Deebo, you sign it. You're just gonna keep saying no, and we keep calling your bluff. Like, we think you're going to crack, like, in the CBA, when the NFL always goes, players will crack. Well, the Niners are just going to be like, okay, keep sitting out. Here is the Deebo. Here is A.J. Brown's offer and an extra 2%.
Which you and I talked about this
He
before.
Will keep looking bad, guy. It's going to start, people are going to start turning on him.
I think, and we talked about this a lot, and I think we agreed, it was a good bet for the Niners to call his bluff. Because unlike Devontae Adams, he had not made $60 million in his bank account. He made $6 gross million.
Wouldn't you say that contract was a good thing for the Niners too? The number that just came out tonight?
Yeah, that would. Yeah. That's a good point.
Because what if it was 70? You'd be like,
Like, there's always going to be a little. Yeah, I know. If I kind of braced for it. 72. But this is a really hard one to stick to because it requires you getting fined, losing money, being a restricted free agent, not getting paid. Because here's the thing. If you think Deebo should get more money, agreed. But he probably could use the $1.2 million that's owed to him this year. He wants that money, right? Like, if he holds out, he doesn't get that money. If he doesn't show up, he doesn't get that money.
But I think, like, at the most basic, like, he is better, or I mean, it's weird, like, whatever the A.J. Brown him thing goes, he is now on the clock to get this contract and potentially $1 million more or whatever. But even if this is the exact same contract they're offering, like, no one's going to feel sorry for him. Like, I would say he had, I wouldn't say sentiment or fans on his side, but people were just waiting to see how it shook out and just wanted some more information. I'd say now it's like, well, Deebo, unless it comes out the Niners refused to offer him a contract, but if it's like, the Niners have a contract to Deebo Samuel for him to sign. It's A.J. Brown plus $1 million. Every single fan is going to have the 49ers back on that one. no one's going to be like, oh, Deebo's getting screwed, NBA style. Like, no one's going to feel that way. So to me, if I'm the Niners, one thing I would do before the end of the weekend is be like, we have the A.J. Brown offer out to him right now. We want to make things whole.
I think one thing that
I go public that way. Schefter says by the end of the weekend, the 49ers have handed Handy. They basically said, send us the Eagle contract. We'll put 49er logo on the top. We'll add $1 million to the guarantee, $1 million to the signing bonus. Fucking let's play ball.
Yeah, I think they've been this way. I think they'll continue to be this way. We saw it with Brandon Ayuk. They're not going to try and dance on Deebo's grave here, right?
But
they're not going to.
But I'm just saying.
No, I understand. What I'm saying is though, I think John Lynch is, even though sometimes you want to win it, you want to exert your power. I think they're going to be conscious that they don't want to embarrass Deebo, even if this ends up with Deebo coming back to them and them signing a contract. They're not going to want to
embarrass him.
No, I know, but whatever. I'm just saying, I think they're going to be sensitive to him, even in a spot where they don't have to be.
Which is why John was fidgety, because he was afraid to say anything that offended this guy.
So you still need him to perform, right? And you're still you're going to give him $60 million. You need his best.
We need him to, be careful with what he's. Don't need too much,
Yeah. Right.
And a part of it is like, okay, Deebo, if you are cool with signing this, we need you to come around, right?
Yes. We need you to go, okay, I'm over the whole thing. My bad.
And just be a good guy again and run some gassers, and we'll keep you in shape. You think we're just getting started or closer to an end now? Because if he's really, truly dead set on this, he could just be getting started.
Could you really just, Monday, be like, all right.
But it goes back to what I said. What has he really said? He hasn't said as much as people act like he said.
He told Jeff Darlington he wanted a trade. Was that 4 days ago or now a week and a half ago?
Yeah, it feels like early last week.
Last Monday. Okay. He said he wanted a trade. He told
I do think he could be like, we've talked it out. We figured it out. We got on the same page, signed it.
Yeah. He could just say it was about money.
My point is he hasn't done it's not like he's gone on IG Live, talked a bunch of shit. He really hasn't done as much as we think.
I think part of what would probably need to come out from his side is it's not about not wanting to be in the area. It's just about money. It was just a money thing. That would probably be what he'd have to communicate to. Because he couldn't say, I don't want to be in the area, but they paid me, so I'll come.
I think he could say that.
I don't want to be there, but I'm here. I don't want to be here, but here I am.
I don't want to live in California, but I love the 49ers and I love Kyle.
Yeah. I just don't think, there's no point in that. You don't win anything by doing that.
No, well, I don't think if he ends up signing, he's going to say anything. He'll be like,
no. But my point is it's if you just said the whole time it was about contract dispute, then everyone can understand that. It's a million player disputes have been about contract dispute. It's just been about the money, right?
And we mentioned this a little bit when it happened. I also don't think if this trade, which I do not think would have been on the table, but if it had been, people would have been cool with just basically trading Deebo straight up for Treylon Burks and some third-round linebackers, linemen, right?
Yeah.
We went from 10, 38, Elijah Moore, next year's second, to Treylon Burks and a late third. Like that, I think people would have been like, See, the difference is A.J. Brown, fans didn't talk forever, put together deals. Everyone in their mind, at minimum, had, we'll take 10 and 35. That'll be the... And all of a sudden you get 18, which was a player you wanted, but then a third. People, that would not have worked.
No, but they could have, potentially they could have gotten 10, traded back, had 2 more players. It could have been a little different, right?
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's true. Like we talked about earlier, we're going to get to see this thing play out now. If Treylon Burks turns out not to be a great player, we'd go, whew. If Treylon Burks turns out to be a stud and things go sideways with Deebo, you'll say that could have been you. That's the beauty of that A.J. Brown trade, is it gives the Niners this parallel universe to watch now, or Niner fans.
And if I just take a biased or the love of the player out of it, I understand, he is a risky player. He's been injured, had some weight issues, his style of play. But I do think he's on your team. You can go to war. His value to the team, it would have been very, very difficult to trade. I'd even say that it's there's a lot like the Titans immediately. I mean, they're a team that just thinks they try to win 11, 12 games. Like they're going to be asking this rookie to do a lot immediately, right? But I wonder with them if there was some concerns. They just do a good job of not letting anyone know, right?
Other things are happening and no one knows anything's happening.
Like they didn't just if they thought he was Devontae Adams, right, or Calvin Johnson, are they trading AJ Brown?
May not. Good question.
Would you say that was that the moment of the night AJ Brown traded to the Eagles?
Yeah, that was the moment of the night. I'd say, the Cardinals trade is an interesting one. Hollywood Brown, Derek Stingley going 3 kind of felt like a little thing that happened. Kayvon going 5. Kayvon Thibodeau going 5.
Can you say that's a win for Kayvon?
Who's their defensive coordinator?
Who?
The Giants?
Wink Martindale. That they stole the guy from the Ravens.
Oh yeah, okay.
Stole would be strong. Harbaugh fired him. Devin Lloyd,
Jags. Yeah. Packers pick is in. Let's see this pick.
Wide receiver.
Lamar Jackson 20 minutes ago tweeted WTF. Hollywood Brown tweeted, "Wish I could have played with my brother forever, but I'm gonna see you at the top at Lamar Jackson." Could they have a problem?
I bet it was just a money thing. They weren't going to, he's a first-round pick. You eventually either got to pay, 5th-year option.
I think DEEBO'S more dug in than you all think. Maybe he is. We'll see.
Here's what I know. We're truly about to find out, right?
How can you be dug in with no money? Yeah, we are. Oh, so the Rams don't have a first pick, but Andrew Whitworth had to be. How about being a Rams fan at the first round of the draft?
Rams announcing a pick?
Andrew Whitworth came out to say something, but there's no pick for the Rams to announce. So he's out there talking before the Packer pick. And the Packers select defensive tackle. So they just go back-to-back defensive tackles? Did they take a defensive tackle with their first pick? Devontae Wyatt, Georgia.
So they took a linebacker and a defensive tackle.
I love watching the people around the celebration all with the camera, like
Aaron Nagler. I love you, Goody. I just think yeah, man. Rodgers. He could be playing with me, you, and 3 other Lazards. And he could keep adding to his legacy. Like if he's throwing 40 touchdowns from random guys, it'll be impressive, won't it?
How many guys can you lose?
Feels like they're close to the edge. No wonder they wanted Waller.
I mean, you talk about never backing down. I guess, they traded Devontae. I don't know if that would count as backing down, but they did not back down from Aaron.
No, they don't give a shit. I bet the Niners kind of envious. They're just like, I kind of like that. If they could draft a guy to kind of piss off Deebo, they would. They just don't have a pick.
They could do that Monday. They could draft Shakir. They could draft somebody in the 2nd or 3rd round, John, that has that. Deebo was a 2nd-round pick. Like, we're acting like everything is just done now, right?
You're saying if they draft a guy at 61, wide receiver?
Yeah, or even in the do they have a 3rd-round pick this year?
They got a couple, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, starting players get drafted in those spots.
True.
So you could absolutely Patriots pick is in. What is this, 29? All right. Deebo belongs to Green Bay. We what was that the long movie, the mob movie that came out last year, 2 years ago, with De Niro and all those guys?
Oh, the 3 of them CGI'd.
Yeah,
to make
we go longer than that movie.
Not The Godfather, but what the hell? What was that thing called?
The chat will tell us in 2 seconds. 4 Georgia players, 4 front Irishman. 7 Georgia players drafted in the 1st round. Irishmen.
You think they had a good defense?
Front 7.
Was I right on the quarterback? How many quarterbacks have been picked?
1. Do you think one more goes before the end of this round?
No.
You
Patriots aren't. Chiefs aren't.
It's 32, man. Someone always takes a quarterback at 32. Not always, but
Patriots just took a guy from UT Chattanooga.
Oh, it got to be a slot receiver.
O-line, Cole Strange.
Okay. Cool. Why is that name familiar?
Once you get to the 20s, I mean, this lineman from Chattanooga and Northern Iowa.
Why does he sound so familiar to me?
I don't know.
Maybe I saw him on somebody's show or something. I don't know.
I love all the memes.
Javier Vegas maybe show.
Rodgers and the wide receivers.
I mean, it's just like so obvious. All right. Well, we'll see. We're not going to hang around to find out who drafts at 32. So
hell of a run.
Strange was getting talked up by Niners. Yeah, I think he was on Javier's show. Maybe that's where I saw him. Niners draft cut crush. All right. See everybody on Friday. Thanks for hanging. Good night from the draft.
Peace.
Unless Deebo gets traded, we'll be back.